Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mythic Banter. I'm here with Akalon, and we are ready to bring you all of the most important gaming news of the week, as well as good banter for you. How you doing, Akalon? You ready for this?
Oh yeah, bro. I was born ready. The last week was actually super slow on video games, and yes, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to each and every one of you, and of course, thank you so much to all of you that keep supporting the channel. You guys are amazing. We love you so much. Remember to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you like, because it does actually help out with the algorithm nonsense.
So much.
Yeah. And then, of course, you can find us, well, pretty much wherever you listen to your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff.
I'm still proud of you for the Apple thing, Akalon. I'm still so proud of you.
It works, though. It's
no,
fine.
But it just works. It's better than Todd Howard's spiel, right? Apple, it just works. It just takes a little while to get there, though, but it works.
Yeah, we finally have everything there. Plus, and I should mention this, we have a new Shorts channel. If you literally just type into YouTube Mythic Banter, it will come up. There's a new Shorts channel and also a new clip channel. So if there are specific topics that you care about, that you want to listen to, they might be uploaded there, so go check that out as well.
We actually have topics. We actually have videos on clips as well. Jesus, my man Ekelon been putting in work. I just want you guys to know, okay, I do nothing. I come in here and I rant for 2 hours, and that's my contribution to this.
I don't edit the podcast, but I do the clips and I do the shorts. So
we're gonna pop right off.
If you don't like them,
we're gonna be more popular than Joe Rogan, dude. 100%.
Well, let's hope. But yeah, you know, I hope you guys enjoy it, because it is our absolute pleasure to make this for you guys every single week. I have some good news for all of you. I know that there was a giant thing that happened in America. We don't care. We're not going to be talking about that today. Yeah. So if you came in here thinking, wow, I can't wait to hear Akalon and Rurikon's highly educated political opinions, you're shit out of luck. Yeah. We're going to be talking about a story adjacent to it, but not about the elections itself. We don't care. This is up to you Americans. You need to sort this out. For us, we want to talk about video
games. It's all about the games. Yes.
If the politics, like the second Trump stars in a video game, that'll be a topic worth discussing.
Yes.
Until such time, there's nothing for us to discuss.
They both get introduced as characters in Mortal Kombat. That'll be interesting. Other than that,
Joe Biden, Donald Trump, let's go.
All right.
That'd be funny as fuck. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, first up, and our first story for the day is, well, it's drama, as pretty much always. This time, it's sort of like a unified story. It's BioWare and Ubisoft.
I've heard nothing about this, so I'm coming in completely like blind. I have no idea what this topic is. I'm very curious. What fill me in.
All right. So BioWare and Ubisoft, according to insider rumors, are on the ropes. There are massive issues. Now, we have known about the massive issues at Ubisoft for a while.
I mean, I would argue we have known about the issues at BioWare as well, because they've been messing up tremendously. And it's like, real quick, like when it comes to the BioWare, I think at least, probably Ubisoft the same thing, but BioWare, at least, one of the things that I will say is that the huge issue in there is their leadership. Their leadership is incompetent. It's literally that easy. The BioWare leadership is incompetent, and I know that because of the recent release of Dragon Age, some people will say, oh, it's because of, you know, you're talking about the politics. It's like, no, I'm talking about this ever since I played Anthem. Because, again, I will bring it up time and time again. The team that developed Anthem was incredibly talented. They were really good. Yes. It's just the game turned to shit because the leadership couldn't make use of that team, and they had no idea what direction the game was going. It's like the team itself, talented at making like cool gameplay scenarios, but then the story was garbage, and the rest of the stuff is just like the leadership's going like, I don't know what to do with this game. Yeah, we can tell. We can tell you have no idea how good you have it. So yeah, leadership's pretty bad. at least. That would be.
I think the other thing that should be mentioned here, and it's right up next to what you're saying there. We have more insider reports that came out earlier this week, actually, from a verified source that basically just explains what is going on at BioWare and why things are just not working. So the leadership of BioWare,
what do we mean by a verified source?
So the guy that I was watching, he laid out like a full. First and foremost, the developer texted him or DM'd him from his official Twitter account, so he could look at the Twitter account and see that it is officially on BioWare. Then the guy also sent him like actual documentation showing that he does indeed work at BioWare.
Ooh, that's spicy.
He has, yeah. So he has. I mean, guys, for those of you that don't know exactly how leaks work. Rurikon will know this because every once in a while you will have someone that reaches out to you. That's about the gold standard of leaking. That's about as good as it gets. Unless you've met these people in real life and they DM you,
to be able to verify
that's the next best
through
thing.
like email addresses and credentials and stuff like that. Yeah, it takes a long thing to get around that. But yeah.
Yeah. But that's like the gold standard. If you see some documentation of him actually working at the company and it's the official Twitter account, that's pretty confirmed at that point. The leadership made a decision about 4 years ago to only hire white women of color, and LGBTQ. That's it. They refuse to hire anyone, like, even if you're a person of color male, you're shit out of luck getting a job at BioWare. They just want to get, the LGBTQ people in. And then this guy also made the claim that he was doing a job on Dragon Age: The Veilguard, right? So he was doing development on the game. At the time, they didn't have a team lead for the department that he was working for, so he basically became the team lead. All of the other developers would come to him.
De facto team leader, yeah.
Yeah. He was basically doing the job as a team leader for 2 years. He ran all of those developers doing a specific job. Then finally, there's an opening for team lead for that department that he's running.
Let me guess, he's a white guy?
Yeah. So he applies for the job. They don't even consider him. Like, literally, his application gets declined instantly. They hire 2 members of the LGBTQ to get in. These people have less than, he said it's girls that came in, so I'm assuming lesbian most likely. They came in with less than 2 years experience in the gaming industry as a whole. He has more than 2 decades experience in the gaming industry.
What game was he working on at the time? Was that revealed?
At the time, it was Dragon Age: The Veilguard. They came in with less than 2 years experience as a whole in the gaming industry. And he's like, all right, what do you mean?
Okay.
And so listen to this.
Okay, go ahead.
The leadership at BioWare came to him after denying him the raise or the promotion. They came to him and said, will you train them so that they can learn how to be the team leaders of the department that you've been team leading for the last 2 years? Because they don't know how to team lead this department. And the only reason he's so candidly speaking about it is he already has another job and he's leaving at the end of January for the new job. So he doesn't give a shit whether they know who he is or what's going on. He's just like, fine, I'll burn this bitch to the ground.
It's like, I think it is important for us to acknowledge that there's some potential for bias in here, especially if the dude was like passed over for a promotion and stuff like that. There is potential for that. We could entertain that thought for sure. The other thing that I would like to mention is I don't think either of us are against people from the LGBT community taking up leadership positions in video games, so long as it is earned. That is the key factor here, which is, at least, again, I don't think I've ever even talked with you about this, Akalon, but I'm pretty sure that both of us believe in what should be a meritocracy. It's like, hey, we want the best people for the job in the position that they need to be at. So whether that person is lesbian, trans, black, queer, Mexican, gay, what, means nothing. It's just like, did they earn their position? Are they good at what they're doing? Are they going to make a good video game? That is the most important thing when it comes to that. But the story that you just mentioned, like, taken at face value, it's like, that's fucking disgusting. There's no other way of going about it. It's just fucking disgusting. Like, imagine, especially because considering that he wasn't officially a team lead, I imagine he's being paid the same as all of the people that he's leading, with 10 times the responsibility of all the people that he's leading, which is absolutely disgusting. And then to just get passed over, and on top of it, somebody coming out, and by the way, we're going to need you to go ahead and train these people to do the job that you've been doing and that you deserve to receive a promotion, but fuck you, because we're going to get them instead. And it's like, that's terrible. That's just, and you know, it's funny that it goes like this, because like I said at the start of this, right? I said, I have no idea what this story is. And you said, oh, it's about BioWare and Ubisoft. They're having problems. I was like, well, the BioWare leadership fucking sucks. And then you basically tell a story about how BioWare's leadership is trash. Oh, man. Yeah. I'm so surprised that this would happen. Who could see it coming?
So I want to just very quickly reiterate what Rurikon just said there. I will go one step further and say, I have never in my entire life even asked the question what race or gender or sexuality this developer has. I could not give two shits. If the games they make are good and they have the experience to make those games, then make the game. I couldn't care less. Like, it doesn't bother me whatsoever. But when you have, and this is sort of the bad thing, right? When you have a game like Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is so clearly very much politically charged and made with very little, like, you can tell, we'll get to the actual play experience because me and Rurikon have both played it. You can tell that the people that wrote that game don't know how to write video games. They don't know how to write anything.
The writing. The dialogue. Oh my God, dude. I am not kidding. Like, after one of the first scenes, I was like, your writing has the subtlety of a sledgehammer. I feel like the writer is sitting next to me, beating me over the head with the plot. That's what he's doing. He's like, hey, are you paying attention yet?
In case you miss the very sophisticated plot, there's a pop-up that tells you exactly what you just missed.
We need to talk about that in its own segment. Let's keep this one going.
We'll get to that. But then, after seeing something like that, and then you see the lead dev is like a trans person, super activist, then it becomes relevant. Because now I'm looking at this person, I'm looking at the game that they just lead dev'd for, and I go, I don't think you got this role because you deserved it. And then you find out that this person's only other game ever was The Sims. And you go, wait, what?
I hear the storytelling's real good.
The Sims somehow qualifies you for an RPG?
Now that I think about it, that actually makes a lot of sense, because if you think about it, the Sims don't actually speak. They have like they speak in tongues, and then you need pop-ups so that people understand what the characters are. Oh my God, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But that's when it becomes relevant, and the problem is, it hurts actual people in the industry with actual talent that may be part of the LGBT community, or maybe women, or maybe people of color, people who are actually good at doing their jobs, suddenly get caught up in this web of DEI woke nonsense, to the point where, and I told you guys this before, I showed a friend of mine the cinematic for Exodus. The moment he saw the female, one of the female characters like woke DI bullshit, and he just left and would not hear of it. Why? Because of games like Dragon Age the Veilguard. Because it continuously proves itself over and over again, and it just keeps happening. And at some point, you just have to make the connection, right? You just have to go, well, you know, I see a female protagonist. I know it's woke.
I want to make one thing
not
clear.
Always, but
my argument right now with Dragon Age the Veilguard is not whether or not it's woke. it's got terrible writing. Like I'm not at the point where I've gotten to see all of the real stuff that people are talking about, like Tash and all that. I haven't seen any of that yet. I haven't been beaten over the head with political messaging yet in the game, so I'm not at that point yet. So I'm not going to comment on the wokeness levels or whatever.
I will say,
but I will comment on beating me over the head with a sledgehammer with that terrible writing. That I will say. And there's more. My God, I have a ton of stuff to say.
There's so much we can discuss. So I won't go too deep into it, but there is. Remind me to explain to you how I think the politics, to some extent, is actually to blame for the bad writing, and you'll understand when I sort of connect it for you. Because it's not directly to blame. Not thinking that. I think there's plenty of people who vote left who can write brilliant stories. But I think there's something else going on here. But anyway, so to explain to you guys, BioWare is sort of melting down. Ubisoft is on fire already.
I'm so
smoke.
Happy to see Ubisoft. Like BioWare, I'm like, man, Anthem was so cool. Why you guys got to burn down? Like, even Andromeda had shit story. Yes, 100%. The story of Andromeda was trash. But the gameplay of Andromeda was cool. Like, there's cool stuff in here. And then Ubisoft, I'm like, I don't care. Let them burn. Like,
but that's genuinely what happened. There's like smoke, like big, thick, dark clouds
billowing
of smoke
clouds
coming out of BioWare. Just across the road is Ubisoft. People jumping out of the windows, fucking blazing fire everywhere, screaming, "Save us! Save us!"
Help!
That place is burning down at the moment.
Oh my God!
And BioWare is basically on the verge of. Now, things are getting really bad at Ubisoft. You just had the lead developer for Assassin's Creed, or the boss of the AC franchise, basically come out and tell the gamers, screw you.
That's all.
We don't care about you not wanting politics in your video game. We don't care about you. Like, he doubled down.
I think that's
in the
always
interview.
a good idea. I too like to go up to my live streams and then just tell my audience, I can't believe how terrible you guys are. That's what I like to do.
It's brilliant.
I go up to my audience and, right as they're doing the membership thing, or they give me like a big donation or something like that, I'll be like, oh, I fucking hate you so much. You won't believe how much
needs to hear that. Your audience wants to hear that.
That's exactly how it works.
That's a great strategy.
That's a good strategy, right? You just talk down to your audience and you just tell them how dumb they are and repeat and emphasize that over and over. That's
it's a winning strategy, actually.
100%.
Works like a charm.
Yeah, every time.
It works 50% of the time, 100% of the time.
Yes, something.
It's a brilliant idea. Like, more developers should really do this. I hope EA gets in on the action and Activision Blizzard as well.
Dude, let's go.
They really start doing that. Yeah. But here's the thing. So he doubles down on this, and he doubles down on Yasuke being an actual samurai, even though that's been completely debunked. And I actually read a paper from a Japanese historian. Now, this is the funniest thing. On the last page of this, I think it was like a 15-page paper, this Japanese historian goes, as of right now, there are no historians in Japan that consider Yasuke an important enough figure of the past to even begin to argue over whether he is a samurai or not.
Here's the thing.
Because there's so little information about him. There's literally no information about Yasuke outside of like a couple of parchments here and there and mentions of him. So historians don't give a crap. He's like, who cares about this guy?
It's like, here's the situation where I'm at. I don't give a fuck if he was a samurai or not. You can make a video game and have Yasuke be a samurai. That's fine. That's fine.
Of course.
The thing is, what you shouldn't be doing is, unless you are 100% sure that he was a samurai, you probably shouldn't be beating people over the head with that information. Going like, he was. You don't know. You don't know anything. He was a samurai. It's like, I don't care if he was or if he wasn't. It's a fantasy video game. What do I care? This means nothing to me. Just stop trying to convince people that that don't believe that he was a samurai. Don't even try to convince them. Tell them, hey, it's a video game. In our video game, he was a samurai. Boom, done.
It's not even that he's trying to convince people. He's just straight up pretending like all the news didn't break of this one law dude writing an entire fictitious book and then using his book to change Wikipedia.
Sourcing his own book to change the Wikipedia entry of Yasuke.
And then also information that just came out that he did actually work with Ubisoft. He's the reason Yasuke is in Ubisoft's new Assassin's Creed Shadows.
There's a Wikipedia page about me that says that I'm the most handsome man alive. The source they used, there was this book I wrote about 15 seconds ago.
I mean, it's
I'm the most handsome man alive, 100%. It's guaranteed. There's a Wikipedia page that says it.
Yeah. I think that's the problem. That's what most of these people don't seem to realize. This dude included, this Kotaku guy, is gamers are sick and tired of being gaslit.
Yeah.
Because he ends up using all these historical characters from their old games, like Altair. And it's like, bro, Altair makes absolute sense in that fucking game. Like, what are you talking about? The setting, he slots perfectly into it. What would have been weird is if he had blonde hair and blue eyes. Then we would all have been like, what? How is this even possible? Like, I don't understand. What is that comparison? It's like saying, well, we had a Viking Scandinavian-looking motherfucker in Valhalla. It's like, yeah, because it's Valhalla.
It makes sense. It
makes perfect sense. But the problem is the gaslighting. It's the doubling down. And then he goes on to Naoka, or I don't know how to pronounce her name, the girl that's also in the game. And there he makes the claim, she's completely fictitious.
I think it's
Nawe. Yeah, she's completely fictitious, but based on other female warriors of the time, because women would oftentimes take up the sword. And then all it takes is literally one Google search to go, actually, no, not during that specific period that you guys set the game in the first place. And even if they did, most women would be horseback archers. They wouldn't actually be hand-to-hand combat specialists.
They don't know about.
But I don't even care.
They don't know about Portuguese.
At least they
women.
say fictitious.
Listen, we have like a folklore story of this lady who used to be a baker. I don't actually know is it called the baker, the person who makes the bread, right? Because we have a different name, but she was a baker. And there was like some battle that we had, and she basically beat a bunch of people up with the tool that you put the wooden tool you put the bread in the oven. She basically stabbed a bunch of people and killed them with it. Anybody who knows about Portugal is like a padeira de Aljubarrota. She killed them, dude. She was murdering people left and right. It was fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, but this is my thing, right? He brings her up as the fictitious one, but then he still bases her on history, which is easily provable as not true. He could have stopped. You want to know why? Because he has fictitious in the sentence. The second he says this is completely fictitious, I go, I don't give a shit.
That's fine.
Because you made it up. In a video game, Source. I kind of expect you to make shit up.
Source. Hey, guess what?
Yeah, and that's fine. The problem is when you start gaslighting us. But all right, so Ubisoft completely melting down. There are rumors inside Ubisoft, at least, that the very bad sales of Star Wars Outlaws may lead to some severe problems for Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're now hearing we have confirmation, at least from the boss of Ubisoft, that it's going to cost them $20 million to postpone the Assassin's Creed Shadows to February. Now, when I heard that number, and I would love to get your feedback on this, does $20 million sound to you like just a couple of bug fixes and smoothing over the game? Unless, of course, that game was completely unplayable at launch when they wanted to play it, and they had to rebuild the entire game from the ground up. Where does $20 million go? Because game development is expensive, but it's not that expensive.
So it was supposed to come out in November initially, right?
Yeah, so we're talking of 3 months.
So it's like
delay.
Probably their projected losses are because they're not coming out in holiday season, I would imagine. It's the fact that you're not coming out around Christmas when parents are buying the latest video games for their kids. And so that's probably where the big losses are coming in from, I would imagine.
But you see, he didn't say losses. He said they're spending $20 million on the game.
Didn't you say
in order to postpone it?
Didn't you say that it costed us $20 million?
Yeah, he said it's going to cost us $20 million to delay the game. I don't know if that includes losses, but it could.
It's not investing. Like if I'm going to tell you, I skipped making this live stream and that's going to cost me something. It just means that it's loss.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. I get what you're saying. It is a little ambiguous as to
so it's probably
what could you actually be talking about?
A mixture of loss of revenue, and then on top of it, they're also accounting for the fact that they're including all of the because they're actually doing the right thing of not being absolute fucking scumbags with this game and chopping it up like the burger meme of video games where it's like, oh, we used to get the whole burger. Now we get like 2 buns. And then you can buy the patty on the side and a little bit of lettuce if you want that, or the cheese.
Yeah. No, you don't buy the patty on the side. You can rent the smell of the patty on the side. Yeah. The patty is never included because it's fucking Ubisoft. They lost the patty halfway through development.
You get the idea. So the fact that they're no longer applying that grossly over monetized strategy is also going to cost them monetarily. Yeah. So that's another thing. The fact that they're not doing the 3-day early access means that less people will buy the deluxe version because now they can just buy the standard version, play the game. There's like a bunch of, pro-consumer things that they did, which to be honest, even though they're saying this is going to cost us this much, that should be seen as an investment into the, you remember how we talked about the positive like goodwill and the monetary deposit? They're basically taking some of their monetary bank and putting it in the goodwill bank. But to be honest, I still think it's too little too late. Like, hey, I'm gonna say it. Hey, good on you for finally not treating your customers like absolute just cash cows and just milking them dry. Good on you for finally doing the right thing. But you've been scumbags for over a decade. Don't expect me to be like, oh my God, we're all saved. Here's Ubisoft. It's return to form. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah.
You've been milking people for 10 years. You got a lot of making up to do. That's the way that I look at it.
See, I'm just quickly looking at it here. So it says here, according to Eurogamer, who, by the way, very left-wing site, so they're not, if they were biased, they would have been biased the other way around. But if you're looking at this, right? Assassin's Creed Shadows delay necessary to change narrative of Ubisoft's inconsistency in quality. So it seems like there's major updates and fixes and reworks maybe of some of the animations, because there were a lot of criticisms of the animations.
Yeah, I know. I was one of the people criticizing it. Yeah.
Yeah. You said it looks like it's like different animations sort of plugged together.
Yeah.
You can see the breaks in animation. So it seems like this is like a massive overhaul of almost the entire game.
And it was about time they did it too, because their animation department fucking sucks.
But it could be that that's where the 20 million is coming from. So it's not even projected losses from delays and all the rest of it. It's literally they're spending nearly $20 million on fixing the game.
Yep.
So maybe doing some recaps on the mocap and all the rest of it to try and get the game at least in some kind of a playable state. So I think very interesting. But of course, this just goes back into the rumors that even this game, according to some of the insiders at Ubisoft, they don't think it's going to sell well either.
Yeah, and it shouldn't.
They think even when it comes out, it's not going to sell well.
It shouldn't. Like they need to take a massive financial hit. So because what's going to happen? Yeah. Imagine this. Imagine that all of a sudden Assassin's Creed Shadows blows up and everybody is buying it and it's Game of the Year 2025 and all of this. What is Ubisoft's lesson? They're like, well, time to go right back to the old ways, baby. Out with the new, in with the old, back to splitting things up burger style, back to doing it all in like the 3-day early access. It's like, no, you're going to suffer now because you fucked with your fan base. It is what it is.
You see, the reason I have this topic is because from what some of the insiders are telling us, Ubisoft may not have another game in them if AC Shadows fails. This might be the last one, purely because they they are struggling financially. I know this hits you hard.
I'm so sad.
It's your favorite company, right?
I'm just so sad. Oh my god, I'm so sad. It just fills me up with warmth and joy. Oh, poor Ubisoft. Oh.
And then we should probably just mention, on the Dragon Age side, this is BioWare, by the way, the insider information we're getting now is that it sold fewer copies than Star Wars Outlaws. At least Star Wars Outlaws had the excuse that for some, let's be nice and say, for some inexplicable reason that no one in the history of the world will ever understand, Ubisoft made the executive decision not to launch the game on Steam day one. Right? At least they can claim that was our biggest blunder.
It was a brilliant decision. What do you mean? Why would you want to release it on Steam, dude? I have no idea what you're talking about.
But Dragon Age Veilguard did launch on Steam day one. And it sold less than Star Wars Outlaws, which is very bad. And now we're hearing from insiders, at least the rumors. And I believe these actually come from insiders in the industry, not insiders in BioWare. They're saying that Mass Effect might get canceled as well. So EA already...
I don't see
EA
that.
already made the executive... Let me explain it like this. So EA, after the failings of Dragon Age the Veilguard, this was actually leading up to the pre-order. So this tells us even the pre-orders for Dragon Age the Veilguard wasn't that good. Because leading up to the pre-orders of Veilguard... EA already made the decision there shall be no DLC for this game whatsoever. Which leads me to, and this is a massive conspiracy theory, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I think from EA's perspective, they just wanted to get it out. Yeah. I don't think the bosses at EA liked this game. I think they looked at this game and said, this is shit.
The weird thing...
But they knew they can't delay it anymore.
The weird thing is how I've been hearing so many publications say that the game is super polished, regardless of, whether or not you like the story, you like the stuff. They were saying like, oh, it's super polished, super well performance-wise and all of that. And that requires a considerable investment in QA and, actually polishing up the game, which is surprising. And I will argue that I guess it is kind of polished, but of course it's polished for NVIDIA GPUs, because when it comes to AMD GPUs, we can eat a big fat dick. That's how it works out here. Because I was trying to play it on my 69.
Team Green, brother.
Yeah, I was trying to play it on my 6900 XT, and I was like, oh, everybody's telling me that this is like giga optimized. Clearly, my 6900 XT will eat this up like no problem. And then I boot up the game, and like the camera's all stuttery, and and I was like, oh, great, fantastic, thank you. This is great. But the best part of it is that art style is such a piece of shit that I got to downscale it down to 1440p, and I couldn't even tell the difference. Listen, when I can run your game at 4K and then bump it down to 1440p and I can't tell the difference, I'm like, hey, that's good on you. Good job.
Yeah.
Fucking smooth ass
I will say the game plays really smooth. But then the graphics are really bad, so it's not surprising. Yeah. It would be like you telling me, well, Minecraft runs pretty smooth.
Yeah, but it's like...
Yeah, I expect it to run pretty smooth. What are you talking about?
It didn't run smooth when they first made it, because voxel technology was fairly new.
Yeah. But I mean, these days, if you have like a 30 series graphics card, Minecraft will run smoothly.
Yes.
That's not a boast. You can't go, well, it runs smooth. Yep. Because it looks like ass. And the other, there's so many problems with this game, and we're going to get into that in the next topic here.
Yeah.
But the point is, the rumors that I'm hearing at least is that, or makes me think at least, that the EA bosses looked at this game and they were like, this is shit. And they're like, look, we don't care. No DLCs. This is done. Get this out of the door. Let's move on. Because we have official confirmation that there will be no DLCs for this game. Yeah. It's now all hands on deck for Mass Effect 5. But now I'm starting to hear that even Mass Effect 5 might be in trouble.
Although I will say there is merit to, just giving people a full experience. It's like you don't need every game to have a DLC, but there is also a show, because like for instance, when From Software made Elden Ring, they also were like, yep, this is it. This is the full game. It's done. We're happy with it. And, you got a full experience. And it was a super awesome game.
Yeah.
It was only because later down the line, everybody would just keep going like, "Oh my God, but it's so good. We need more. We really need more, please." And then they were like, "All right, we'll give you some more." So it's like there is some merit to being like, "No, this is the full experience. There's no DLC needed." But you know, I don't know. Again, like I said, I haven't finished the game. I've only played like 5 hours, so you know.
I have no problem with that. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 famously also said,
"Yeah, we're
DLC.
not doing DLC." Yeah. They were planning on it, but they were just like, "Nah, actually, we don't want to do it." And you know, I think that's
we're
fair.
very happy with what the game is that we made, and I think I can speak for most people that played it. We're very happy with the game that they made.
Oh, yeah,
it's a super fun game.
Absolutely,
the replayability is sick. So basically, you don't even need the DLC; just start a new character, and you basically get a new game. So fundamentally, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a greedy corporation like EA missing out on the opportunity to sell people another game.
Yeah, that is weird.
Both universe.
Yeah,
that tells you that they sort of gave up on this game before it even came out. They were like, "This." They're
probably not too confident in the success of the game, and they're just like, "No, you know, okay, we're gonna get what we're gonna get, and it is what it is." Yeah, I will say they still reached a reasonable number on Steam concurrence. It was like 90,000 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, like 89,000 something.
It's not super amazing if you consider that it is the Dragon Age franchise, which should get significantly more. But I would also argue that one of the biggest issues with Dragon Age the Veilguard, from what I've played so far, is that it is not really the type of game that a lot of Dragon Age fans want.
It's not at all.
And I would actually
say, I mean, we can move into that conversation now.
Yeah, we can. We're going to talk about the play experience of Dragon Age. And here's the thing. I'm not necessarily saying with this that I think that it is a bad game because, like I said, I haven't played enough. I like judging games for myself. I don't want to like read someone else's opinion and be like, "Yep, it's terrible. It's torture. I fucking hate it." No, I want to play it and I want to play it more and I want to really formulate an opinion on it. But the thing to me is, I still think this would have been a better product if it wasn't a Dragon Age game. If they're like, "Nope, we made a different RPG, takes place in an original universe, all of this stuff." Because the thing that you've managed to do with this is that you've pissed off a lot of like hardcore Dragon Age fans, and you've created what is essentially, from my experience so far, not a Dragon Age RPG. And I don't think that anybody can argue that, because like, even if you like the game, I think you should be able to recognize that it is very much an action game. Like, you can call it an RPG because it has, you know, level up systems and all of that stuff, but it is very much a more action focused RPG, a more, you know, linear experience than what you would have in a traditional Dragon Age thing.
I would go so far as to, it's sort of like video game genring has become such a shit show, actually, because you get a lot of people that will say to you, "Oh, but Cyberpunk is an RPG." And then it's like, well, if Cyberpunk is an RPG and Baldur's Gate 3 is an RPG, we have a problem with how we label things. Because I would classify Cyberpunk much, much better as an adventure shooter. Where, yes, it has a phenomenal story. And yes, it has progression and all the rest of it. But it is mainly just you playing a very set story. There's some choice here and there, but for the most part, your choices don't really change that much.
Oh, I was under the impression they would in Cyberpunk. I was under the impression that stuff would massively change.
Nowhere near the level of Witcher 3. And even Witcher 3 had nowhere near the level of Baldur's Gate, right?
Yeah.
But it still had a lot more. There's been some updates in recent months where they've added new endings and stuff, but effectively, the only real choice you have in the game is at the end, where you get to choose the kind of ending that you want. And that opens a whole new hour or two playtime based on your choice.
Okay.
Right? So, yeah, it's not a heavily... it's not that great as an RPG. And I would put Dragon Age the Veilguard in the same spot. I would say it's a high fantasy adventure game.
Yeah
because your choices barely matter.
I've heard
most of it is just action adventure.
I've heard from Cowboy, who's significantly ahead of me. I think he's like 20 hours into the game at this point or something. Yeah. And Cowboy told me that there is like a massive decision fairly early in the game that makes like a massive difference. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool to see. But like the first real decision that we made. But although before we get into decisions though, I got a bone to pick. Okay. I got a real big bone to pick. And we're going to start right at the beginning. Character creator. How did you like the character creator? Because I've been hearing people just like absolutely glaze this content creator as like, this is a new standard. This is the best content character creator ever made. This is the best one. And I was like, all right. I go in there and I'm not kidding. I had a terrible experience. And by the way, I'm not too demanding, as we will talk about. I'm not too demanding when it comes to character creators. Yeah. I don't need that much. I need some basic things, but I want to hear from you first. What was it like for you to create a character? What character did you make, by the way?
Some male looking dude.
Oh, so you didn't make a Kunari? You didn't make handsome Squidward?
No.
Oh.
No. I just made a male character box standard. Look, it has a lot of bells and whistles and sliders, but so does almost every other game these days.
I want to know, did you have a good experience with the character creator?
No.
Why?
There were a lot of sliders make such a little difference that I don't know what it changes really. It says it's doing this thing, but you slide it around and you go, what is it doing? I don't see a change here.
Okay.
Some of the sliders feel unnecessary. It feels like they just added it because there happens to be a muscle there on the human face, and it's like, okay, but we don't need to change everything, right? And overall, I still didn't feel like I actually had the ability to create the character that I would have wanted to create.
Yes. See, that's the problem. That is the problem that I personally had with the character creator. I wasn't able to make a character that I wanted. So here's the thing. I love playing as a dwarf, and there's not that many games out there, unfortunately, that let you play as a dwarf. Baldur's Gate being one of them. And let me tell you something, my dwarf in Baldur's Gate was amazing. And I could have made 10 different dwarves in there that I would have been super happy with, okay?
Baldur's Gate character creation is so much better than Dragon Age.
A million times.
So much.
So it's like, in Baldur's Gate, I could have easily made maybe even 50 variations of a dwarf that I would have been super happy with, because they did a really good job. In this game, I struggled to make one, and the one that I ended up making, I still don't like it. And let me explain to you why. So, dwarves, I want them to be fucking stacked, okay? They need to be short, they need to be ripped as fuck, and they need to be fat, okay? They need to be, it's a strange balance that you got to achieve, but they got to be fat and ripped at the same time.
Yes.
Okay? And I couldn't shape them up the way that I wanted to. I tried. I was like, listen, I want him to be fucking Johnny Bravo. I want it to be a reverse triangle. That's what he's got to be. Yeah. And I would go and I was like, okay, give me the broadest shoulders imaginable and give me the biggest muscles and all of that stuff. And then give me like a bit of a belly as well to kind of go with it. And when I was done with it, he's shaped like this. He's like a little egg. And I was like, why is my dwarf an egg? He should be an absolute block of concrete. Okay. So I had some issues with the way that the dwarf was shaped, but I was like, okay, I'll live with that. I'm going to have like bulky armor on anyways. Not going to be a big deal, right? And I'm like, all right, let's look at my dwarf's face. He's going to need a rugged face, like an aged face, like a veteran, a dwarf who's seen some shit. He's been through some battles. Yeah. And I kid you, I'm not exaggerating. People might think I'm exaggerating. You can go watch the beginning of my stream to see it because I tried everything. Every single face is a pretty boy. Every single one. Yeah. There's no way there can be no blemishes on the face of my dwarf. There's not even a hint of like a regular, like a 5 o'clock shadow. Nothing. There's nothing in my character's face. He's perfect in every way. And I'm just like looking at this and I was like, he looks like a fucking supermodel. Like, what are we doing? This is crazy.
Dude, you have to remember, your dwarf is a metrosexual male in 2024. Yeah. He wears makeup and he puts on moisturizer. Yeah. He takes care of himself with his little handbag or man purse.
My moisturized dwarf. But anyway, so I'm like, all right, he's going to be a pretty boy. It's okay. I can probably fix this with the hairstyle. So I go into the hairstyle and I was like, there's not a single unkept hairstyle for your character. No, every hairstyle looked like my dude came straight out of a hair salon.
but the
it was like,
engine also, or rather the graphic style, the art style also makes it's so difficult to make character look serious.
Because I'm gonna get you with that one. That's gonna be the good part. So, but anyway, so I'm like, I'm trying to make him, look, but he just looks like smooth, and he looks like what's that brand that the lady does, I think it's L'Oreal or whatever. It's like everything is like a L'Oreal commercial for my character.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I just want an unkept long hair for my dwarf. And I was like, all right, I can't get that. Can we get some short hair that doesn't look like, no, you can't do it. And I was like, well, I want to see what the hair technology is like that everybody's like frothing at the mouth from. So I gave him like an elven ponytail. Okay. Do you have any idea what the insult it is for you to create a dwarf and give him an elven ponytail? All right.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, okay, listen, I'm disappointed in the face. I'm disappointed in the shape of the character. I'm disappointed in the hairstyle, but the most important thing for a dwarf is his beard. They got to have good beard options, right? And I go in there, and there's literally one braided beard, and it's the most ridiculous fucking braided beard I've ever seen in my goddamn life. Because it's like, it cuts off in here, but then the braids go like here, and he looks like a tool. Those look like handlebars for doing blowjobs. Like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. It looked so bad. Dude, and I was like, I just want like a cool beard for my cat. Please, I had to give him like a flowing beard, like a wizard's beard on my dwarven warrior. And I was like, fine, whatever.
But dude, that's my.
But wait, because it gets worse. So then, as I'm doing all of this, and I was like, all right, so there's two more things that I want, and please just give me these things, okay? Listen, I'm a dwarf. Dwarves are hairy. He needs to have bodily hair. No, there's no bodily hair option. There's nothing.
Smooth femboy.
I was like. Did my dwarf get a Brazilian wax? Like, what are we doing here? This is insane. So he's like full wax dwarf, no bodily hair. And I was like, all right, okay, fine. I just want one final thing. The one final thing that I want, which is every RPG character that I always make in most games, they support you having like a scar over your right eye. And the reason I put a scar over my right eye is because
Harry Potter costume.
No, fuck you. it's because
I'm just taking a shot in the dark.
You see these glasses? This eye sees significantly worse than this one. So I'm like, okay, I want to have a scar over my right eye. And I don't know if the camera's reversed. So I don't want people criticizing, Rurikhan doesn't know his right from his left. Sometimes cameras are reversed, right? But anyway, point is, I always have a scar over my right eye. And most of the character creators, they allow it. Not this one. I was like, fuck me, dude. I just want a one single scar over nope. Can't have that. I had to go get like some fucking bear claw or whatever it was that does like a 3-scar thing on your eye because you can't move scars in this game. And I was like, we had this in Dragon's Dogma 1. In Dragon's Dogma 1, I could put a scar in my character's eye. Like, what the fuck?
But you see, this is where I sort of go, all of these people that glaze the character creation, I'm convinced
it's bad.
Have never played any other RPG in their lives.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2077 has a better character creation. Baldur's Gate 3 has a million times better. Dude, you can do anything you want.
Any Capcom RPG has a better...
Capcom games. There's so many games out there that has far greater character creations than this one.
But so here's the part where this is where things get really upsetting for me, right? So it's like, okay, you can't have chest hair, and I was like, all right, I get it. I can't have chest hair because it's like a design decision, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I can't have like an unkept haircut because you want me to be a pretty boy. Fine, whatever, because this is the design that you went with your game. Fine, I'll begrudgingly accept it. I start the game, and I kid you not, literally on the first fucking cutscene, you see Varric with a fucking deep V cut, and he's got Wolverine's chest hair. I was like, what the fuck is this? This isn't an art style choice. There's a character right there. And then I look at his haircut, and I was like, that's the one. Why can't I have Varric's haircut? It's right there. I was like, oh, God. I was so frustrated with the character creator, dude. I was like, what the fuck? I've never been so frustrated at making a dwarf in an RPG, literally ever. ever. I hate the character creator in this game. It is terrible. Sorry. I don't agree. Like,
it's all downhill from there.
Oh, yeah.
For those of you that have not played it yet. You think, well, character creation is bad. The game gets better. No, it does not.
So here's the thing.
Combat.
I actually do like the combat from what I've played so far. I do like it, but I find it interesting.
Keep going.
That there's like all of these difficulty settings. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go into Nightmare. So I jump into Nightmare, which is the hardest difficulty, because I was curious since they're talking, we have all of these things, all of these sliders and things that you can configure and do all these things. Number one thing that I see there, defense timings. And I was like, you're really going to fuck with people's parry timings based on difficulty. I fucking hate when they do that. But to be honest, it's so easy to parry in the game that it makes no difference. So I die right on my first combat experience because monsters just deal a shit ton of damage. And I was like, okay, I'm still like acclimating, whatever. But immediately after that, I never died again. I never, in the 5 hours I've played, never died. Not only I've never died, I was never challenged again. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, this is the Nightmare difficulty? And I've already been told that, like, from people in my chat, they were like, yeah, and most of the difficulty will come from, unfairly tuned bosses in terms of the sheer amount of damage that they deal and the sheer amount of hit points that they have. I was like, yep, I can see that that's going to be the thing. Yep.
Yeah. The entire game, I played just under Nightmare because Nightmare has this thing where you can't
go back.
Downscale once you're on Nightmare. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So I played the one just under Nightmare. Now, for those of you that don't know, I'm not actually someone that likes playing RPGs on difficult settings.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the RPGs that I play, normal or easy. I just want to see the story. I couldn't give two craps. I put this on the hardest difficulty. It feels like every other game on easy. Because the only thing that takes time is the fact that the enemies have so much HP. It takes so long for you to actually just get the shield down, and then even longer for you to start getting the health pool down. And then eventually you start unlocking some really cool abilities. So now you can start dealing the big damage, which against normal ads, big damage. Against any sort of boss ad, wait, noodle. You're hitting it. You can see there's some going down, but it has so fucking much that you're going to have to do 20 of these combos just to get through the shield. And it's like, bro, why? I mean, I have so many problems with this game's combat. So first and foremost, the dodge mechanic, and I'm talking about the, hit spacebar twice, so you probably played on controller.
You hit circle twice, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Hit it twice. It feels like there's a built-in delay that isn't like a B-frame. In Elden Ring, you have B-frames, and you have to be very aware of the B-frames with dodging and with parrying and with shit like this. But it feels like the game it's like an animation break. It feels very clunky to dodge away. It's like, you have to dodge early.
It sends
just to actually get out of the way.
It sends you into a different zip code as well. Like, you're dodging, you're like, whee! Here we go.
Yeah.
It's like,
you just go off. I told
people, like, the combat's it's a bit floaty, and people like, what do you mean? I was like, what do you mean? Like, can you see that it looks like I'm ice skating in a ring right now every time that I'm moving? Gary was like, there's an animation for shield bashing where your character literally doesn't move his feet and he's just like sliding through the ground. And I was just like, what the fuck is this?
There's another problem that I had. I'm sorry, guys. I'm eating macadamia nuts.
Yeah. These nuts.
Super nice.
These nuts.
Yeah. There's another problem with the combat in that exact same. The bosses have like two abilities that you have to escape. Almost every single boss that I've fought thus far. Two. And they just keep running after you.
Oh, here's another thing.
There's like no windows of attack. This is the nice thing about Elden Ring. Elden Ring bosses also doesn't have an overwhelming majority. It's not like you get a boss that has 200 animations and attack styles that you have to watch out for. They'll usually have like 2 or 3 attacks when you're close, 2 or 3 attacks when you're mid, and 2 or 3 attacks when you're far away from them, right? Yeah. Gap closers and shit like that. But the whole point of that is you have to learn when are the windows in which I can attack. So when are the windows in which I can attack and when are the windows where I have to move away? This game, it's like he does his thing and then he just immediately starts walking after you. Same speed always, just keeps chasing you all over the room. And you're just like, bro, this is boring as shit.
You want to hear?
It's so easy to dodge out of things.
You want to hear a really funny thing? Because I know you probably didn't use the shield, right? So you wouldn't know this.
No.
Guess. You know how when you block an attack in Elden Ring or other games, like there's usually a stamina system, so you put up your shield and they beat on your shield, and then eventually they're going to break through.
Yeah.
Not in this game. You can just hold block and you're done. Unless they do one of those red attacks, that's unblockable. You just hold up block and that's it. Like I remember at one point, because I was testing this, that there were a bunch of archers and a bunch of like other little darkspawn dudes that were coming at my party. And I was like, these guys don't really have unblockable attacks. What would happen if I was to just hold my shield up the whole time in this fight? And what happened was I was just sitting there and they would come in, bang, bang, bang. And here's the other thing. Shield blocking is not directional. So if I'm holding my shield block here and somebody's attacking me in the back, I'm still blocking.
Wow.
So I was like, wait, what? I'm so used to Capcom games where it's like, no, you actually have to aim your blocks, or from software games where you have to aim your blocks. It's like, no, you just hold block, and it blocks all 360, and there's no limit. And I was like, how is there no limit on blocking? Like, this is not smart. But yeah, basically, my companions killed everything, and I was just sitting there blocking.
Dude, that's the other problem. Your companions can't die. They have no health pools.
Yeah.
And in the old BioWare games, in all of the old Dragon Age games, you would have one companion that's a tank, another one that's maybe more like support, damage, heal, and then one or two that's like pure damage. In this one, who gives a shit if you have a tank? They will chase you all over the place no matter what.
That's because of the difficulty. The difficulty has an aggro setting. That's why you're getting targeted more than everybody else.
But that's so anti-RPG combat. The whole point is
now tells me that I remember seeing a lot of people say that Mage was not really cool to play at the beginning. And then when I looked at the difficulty settings, I was like, well, considering that there's a player aggro setting, if you play on the harder difficulties, Mage is going to fucking suck. Because even if you have melee people, they're still going to chase you. Like these darkspawn that I was blocking, what was happening was none of them would target the people that were actually killing them. They would be targeting me despite me not being a threat. And I was like, this, because I like playing tanks, I'm like, this is going to be the best game ever for me because I'm always going to have aggro. I don't even have to work for it.
But you see, that's the problem. This game, you can tell that it's made by people who have never played Elden Ring, who's never played Monster Hunter. By the way, we're going to be talking about Monster Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
They've never played any of these games, so they don't understand the intricacies of making a game like this. People think making Elden Ring or Dark Souls is easy. What could be hard? It's just things attacking and you have to attack back. It is a skill.
Oh, yeah.
There is a reason why there are so many clones that don't work. Because they don't get it right. You make one small timing mistake. Just one B-frame that's out of place, or you don't add a B-frame in the right place for the right reason, and suddenly the combat just feels off. It feels like this isn't working.
But having said that, I should make one thing clear. I do enjoy the combat. There's a lot of stuff that is wrong with it, but I did enjoy some fights. I particularly enjoy what they decided to do with warriors, which is warriors are kind of just like wrestling characters. So, like, to give an idea, I was fighting this first like mini boss looking thing, which is is one of the first ones that has more than one health bar. And I'm fighting it, and I don't really know what I'm doing still because I just got like my first skills unlocked, and I'm going through the motions, and I'm trying to like, okay, boom, 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 and I was like, all right, I have this cooldown that came up, and the boss is standing near a ledge. So the cooldown that came up is like, that wrestling move where they do the double kick? They just like jump into the air and with both feet slam the other person. So that's the first warrior move that you get. So I do that and I just yeet the boss into the cliff. And I was like, wait, what? The boss was at like 50% on his health bar or something. She's like, gone. It's like, you're dead. That's awesome.
Winner.
So that to me is actually really funny, and I like that. And then the other thing that I thought was funny is when they unlock your ultimate for the first time. I was like, oh, I got my ultimate. So I pressed the ultimate button. And, I'm playing this dwarven warrior, axe in one hand, shield in the other. What does he do with his ultimate? He sheathes both those things, starts punching the ground from the monster. Doesn't even punch the monster. He punches the ground. And what deals damage is the shockwaves that are coming out. It's like, bam, bam, bam. And then he jumps into the air and elbow drops the ground for a final slam. I'm like, it's funny as shit. I'm not going to take it too seriously, but it's really funny. So I do have fun with the combat. I think it's fun.
But I think here's where you're going to eventually realize what I realized. Because originally, I also thought the combat was really fun.
Yeah, I only played 5 hours.
The problem is...
that's the thing.
Yeah, it becomes monotonous.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because what you're experiencing now, you will experience in every single fight. Doesn't matter what fight it is. Doesn't matter who the enemies are. Exactly the same.
I can see it being fun because, again, one of the things that I will say in the game's favor is that these scenarios are beautiful, right? I think we can agree on that. Yeah. Like, you look visually, and so I can get myself very much immersed. Even if, right, you can just like look at the story and I don't like the story, but you're like, oh, but I'm a dwarf and I'm in this world right now and I'm doing this thing. Because again, there's just not that many RPGs that let me play as a dwarf. Yeah. So whenever I get to live out that fantasy, it's like, oh, I'm a dwarf and I got my shield and my sword and I'm beating up on dudes. Like, that is a very powerful thing because not that many games do that right. That's the problem. Like, the last one that I had is friggin' Baldur's Gate, right? Yeah. Baldur's Gate was last year, bro. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. That's the last time I got to play a cool dwarf. So as you can imagine, I don't get to do that very often. So the few games that I get where I get to live out my dwarven fantasies, I'm like, all right, it might not be the best game, but it's got a dwarf in it, and here we go.
Yeah. I agree with you, but that's actually one of my criticisms as well. The scenes, the landscape,
they look good.
Looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
The characters,
not so much.
Look completely out of place.
Yeah, they don't look.
They don't look like they completely fit.
Yeah.
The landscape.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is the most awkward art direction I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I don't like the art direction at all. I think the art direction of the character specifically, because like when you look at the art direction of the scenery and all of that stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. I love this world. This looks fantastic. I'm having a good time. But then you look at the characters, and I'm just like, why do I have a smooth Brazilian wax dwarf with a fucking mage beard and an elven haircut? It's like, oh, right, because they made dwarves, but they actually didn't give me any options as to how to make a proper fucking dwarf. Ugh.
The other problem, of course, is the art direction on the characters reduces all of the dramatic moments to almost cartoon instances. Like, no matter how dramatic the moment is, no matter how dramatic the conversation is, you look at these characters and it's very difficult to feel any sort of, whoa, this is dark, right? This is a big thing that happened. Well,
so like that almost goes into the whole writing thing that they kind of just like beat you over the head with. So my first example is right after you have the first Solus confrontation that everybody's already seen in the trailer. Varric's all busted up and whatnot. And so the exact moment that you come out of that cutscene and your character's waking up and he's looking around and you look at Varric and you see him like all busted up, Varric starts speaking and you're immediately interrupted by a little pop-up that says, by the way, Varric is very disappointed in the fact that his relationship with Solus wasn't enough to solve this particular situation. And I was like,
yeah.
What the fuck is this a game for people that watch TikTok? Like, what the fuck are we doing? You might as well give me like,
feels like it, right?
You should have given me like my phone SMS notification. Go like, it's just like would pop that thing, and you're thinking like, okay, I get it. Maybe this is something about the relationship of this character, whatever. But I was very taken aback when I saw the first one. But I was thinking to myself, maybe this isn't something that happens all the time, right? And I kid you not, literally the next scene, Harding comes in. She's all busted up. It's like, dude, by the way, Harding is very injured. And I was like,
not Harding, Nev.
No, that was for you. It depends on the choice that you make who gets injured. So if you take Nev with you, Nev gets injured. And if you take Harding with you, Harding gets injured. Which, again,
that makes
is one of those things where I was thinking, so there's no right choice. Somebody always gets fucking hurt, which it's one of those things where shouldn't there be like a choice that, gives you something different? It's like, no, if you choose this one gets busted up. If you choose that one, the other one gets busted up. But it's just like,
and they already,
why do you feel the need to tell me? Why do you feel the need to tell me that this character is injured? Like I can't see that her face is all fucking bruised up and she's walking with a limp. I can tell she's injured. My attention span is not that bad.
But they already nailed this in Mass Effect. For those of you who don't know, in Mass Effect 2, right at the end, there's a mission where you have to make a series of very important decisions as to who leads, because you have to make 2 teams, and there needs to be a leader for the team that you're not a part of. You're obviously the leader for your team.
Yeah.
And then you also have to choose an engineer to go into the venting ducts.
Yeah.
You make the wrong choice there, people die.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's actual consequences.
That's what happened to me, and like that's the reason why people are going to kill me for this. But I've never played Mass Effect 3 with Garrus alive because Garrus died in my playthrough of Mass Effect 2. So I accepted that. Hey, listen, that's a consequence, and that makes my playthrough different from somebody else's because I had to deal with the fact that Garrus fucking died, and I'm okay with that because that was what happened in my experience. I will say though that boiling down that the way that they handled that decision in Mass Effect, I also wasn't happy with because it wasn't about whether or not the character is the correct character to use in that situation. It was about whether or not your relationship level was the correct one with the character that you've chosen. And that was very disappointing for me. Because, for instance, my relationship with Jack was a piece of shit because I didn't like Jack, so I don't give a fuck. But the thing is, Jack is still supposed to be the most powerful bionic in the whole world, in the whole fucking universe. Yeah. That's the story I was told. So it's like when somebody tells me, you need somebody to hold the bionic shield, I'm like, this is the strongest bionic motherfucker in the galaxy, right here. Nobody can beat her. But apparently, because our relationship status wasn't optimal, she wasn't motivated enough to hold the shield, and then Garrus had to die. So fuck Jack. She's a piece of shit. I don't like her. But yeah, you see,
I had Samara.
Samara do the shield? No, because the thing was, I had Samara take the hostages because I was like, if I send Jack with the hostages, she's not going to give a fuck. She's like, me? Hostages? I don't give a fuck about these people. Yeah, but I wanted to take someone that had like a shield capability so that they could shield the hostages. And Miranda, I don't think Miranda has biotic capabilities, or if she does, they're not particularly good. That was the reasoning. So I'm like, I'm gonna take this person who is already super protective because he's a justiciar or whatever she was, and she's gonna protect the hostages, and I'm gonna make the crazy psycho bitch do the shield because even if she fumbles with the shield, I'll be there to help out. That was my thought process. Turns out that wasn't the case, and Garrus got killed. So, yeah.
Wow. But they already did it. That's the point.
Yeah.
They knew how to do choices that actually matter. Yeah. In this game, the choices are basically playing out. And I think Skill Up said the same thing in his review. The choices you make will have differences, but it's basically just 2 sides of the same coin difference.
Yeah.
Either this one gets hurt or that one gets hurt. But someone gets hurt.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. Dude, this entire game, and I don't want to waste too much time talking about this because we could probably be here for 2 hours.
You can't say this entire game. You've only played like 10 hours or something. Like, let's be fair.
Yeah, but this is the problem. I've done 8 hours.
Okay.
I can't do any more of it.
Then don't.
Because the whole 8 hours that I have played of it, I have not found anything that convinces me to keep playing. That's actually my biggest problem here. It's fine if a game isn't the best game ever. Guys, I play plenty of games where it's not the best game ever. But usually the thing is, every game will have something that you really like.
Yeah, see,
right?
and that
the
for
other
me,
things aren't that great, but
that for me is playing as a dwarf. That's what I really like about it. I want to play as a dwarf. I want to drop kick some people, and that's it. That's what I want to do.
I mean, that's great, but for me, I couldn't find anything to really like in this game. because almost everything feels like it's doing something that other games do a hell of a lot better. And if I wanted to do that, I could just go play those other games.
While we're on this, I should also mention that one of the big turnoffs again in Character Creator was your character's background. Did you see the backgrounds? Because like what I was doing was I was looking at the different factions, and I was seeing the description of the factions, right? And I was like, oh man, I want to be one of these fortune lords or whatever it was, because it sounds like they're like rogues that are coming around collecting treasure and doing all this stuff. And it's like, that's what I want to be. I want to be a mercenary, because that'll let me role play a morally gray character, which is it's just the type of character that I like to play in an RPG. So like, for instance, when I played Baldur's Gate, my dwarven bard was not like a goody two shoes. He was in there and he was like, I don't like this person. This person's got to go. It's that simple. So they got to go. And I would kill them. I would kill everyone that I wouldn't like. It's like, yep, you're dead. I don't give a fuck. And it's like, I would also help people, but it would be very much a morally gray character where I get to make every decision that I actually want, rather than, oh no, I always have to save the innocent. I always have to protect the weak. I always have to help the poor. But like in an RPG, I like, making these weird decisions. So I'm looking at these different backgrounds that you can have for your character, and the treasure lords seemed like or fortune lords, whatever they're called, seemed like it was going to be the one that I was going to like the most. So I'm like, okay, I can probably roleplay morally gray character. He's going to be some dude that goes in and goes into tombs and steals stuff, and this sounds cool. So I click that. And I look at the description of the character, and they're like, you were doing a caper and things went wrong, and you had to take this decision where you sacrificed something to save all of these people. And it's like, wait a fucking minute. I'm a fucking looter of tombs. I'm supposed to be a roguish type character. I'm not a goody two shoes that sacrificed my loot for some people. As a matter of fact, I think it would have been amazing if I made a decision in the beginning of my character is reprimanded for making a decision that got people killed because of my greed. That's what I wanted. I wanted a morally ambiguous background. So I'm looking at these fortune lords, it's like, wait, I'm a fucking goody two shoes. And then I go to the one that seemed like the most evil ones, which was the necromancers. It was the same thing. You're a goody two shoes. You're fighting for the resistance or whatever the fuck it was. This underground team, same thing. I was like, wait a minute. My character's a goody two shoes in every single fucking background. Like, what do we do? Yeah. That's so dumb. You can't have a morally ambiguous background in an RPG.
So here's the thing. This is where I remember I told you, I will explain to you how it's the politics that causes the bad writing and the bad sort of just theme. When you're making a game that is supposed to be political theater, so you're very desperately trying to make political statements throughout the game. Trash's entire story is just that. It's one massive political activist piece. The last thing you can allow is for players to sort of get confused as to who are the good or the bad guys. So what you do is you write obviously Disney level bad guys for bad guys.
Oh god.
And you write the best of the bestest, goodest guys for your characters.
Yeah.
So that the audience knows at all times the goody guys make the goody choices, and the baddie guys make the baddie choices.
That's always been the thing about these types of RPGs, which is why I said, like, this is more of a linear, this is like a God of War, basically. You don't really have that much agency. You're just a good guy. That's it. You're a good guy that's doing good things. And I know that I say, oh, Kratos, nice guy Kratos, that beats people to a pulp. But if you really think about it from a moral standpoint, yes, Kratos is kind of like the morally correct character in the latest iterations of God of War.
But
like
the beauty of Kratos is the fact that Kratos has incredible depth to his character.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the point that I'm making. In this game, you're just a good guy. That's it. You're a good guy, and that was one of the things that Skillup said. You're just a good guy, and there's nothing else to it. Whereas in Baldur's Gate, you could do the most heinous shit. You could backstab people, and the thing is, you weren't forced down either path. You can do this thing or you can do that thing. And I know that a lot of people always say that, like, oh, Baldur's Gate set unrealistic expectations. Like, no, motherfucker, you could do this back in Dragon Age Origins. You could be a bad guy if you wanted to. You could do this in Mass Effect. You could be a bad guy if you wanted. You can play a renegade. As a matter of fact, I actually think that Mass Effect also did it wrong in a way, because you are usually rewarded for either going super deep into the bad guy path or super deep into the good guy path. And if you were going down the middle, you would actually be penalized, which I also think it's not the best way. But it was still better than whatever the fuck this is, because it's always like, you're a good guy and you're a good guy and you're a good guy. And you're not the only good guy. Everybody around you is a good guy. Everybody that you're working with is a good guy. There doesn't seem to be, any morally gray characters. There's nobody who has like ulterior motives. Everybody's just like, no, we're all in it together to save the world. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
You asked whether or not the bosses can misgender people. I saw a scene from one of the boss interactions with Trash's storyline where the boss correctly refers to her as they.
I'm sure that was like the top of that boss's priority was to let me make sure that the boss probably had a conversation with Tash ahead of time where they were like, okay, so what are your pronouns again? Okay, good. I want to make sure that I get that right. Right as I'm preparing to kill you and all of your friends and insult you and demoralize you, the one thing I will not do is misgender you. Come on.
And even the enemies that you fight, a lot of the enemies, even if it is just one enemy, the voice lines about those enemies will also be they, them. They won't gender them, he, she. It's they, them. So it's like, dude, the game is just so riddled with nonsense.
The final complaint that I have. This is actually, and again, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. Despite all of this, I am going to play more of this game because, like I said, I like the combat and I like being immersed in the world as a dwarf.
You're a better man than me. I will not be playing this shit. I will not be playing.
I'm going to play at least a bit more. Like 5 hours wasn't enough to get to a point where I was like, all right, this fucking blows. I hate it. It was more like, oh, I'm actually having fun with this combat. I don't like this.
I just bought Vampire Survivors before we started this podcast. I will be playing that.
I mean, Vampire Survivors sound good. But
I've never played it.
I'm actually okay. So I'm going to say this one thing, and then I want to ask you something else about Veilguard. But the another thing that really bothered me, and this is again about the writing, is how you have all of those options in the dialogue wheel.
Yeah.
And one of the options is supposed to be the jokester, where you're supposed to be making jokes of all the situations. I don't know if it's because of the voice that I chose for my character. I don't know if it's because of the race of my character. I don't know if it's because of the background of my character. But every single time I chose the joke option, my character was dead serious. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, he hasn't said a single joke. I got to a point where I was like, well, if you're just going to be that serious, I'll just use the dead serious option there. Because, I mean, you're not going to let me role play as making jokes. So I'm going to have to be the dead serious guy, I guess.
But even the dead serious guy isn't dead serious.
It made me wonder, why is that dialogue option even there? There was one point where I chose the one that's like the teary-eyed one, which I'm assuming is my character. I'm like, oh my God, you're so hurt. Oh no.
Yeah, he's crying. He's sad now.
And my character just goes like, all right, I need you to stay behind. And I was like, wait, what? That was it? Aren't you going to like express how sad you are because she's hurt and shit like that? No, all right, I need you to stay behind. That's it. And I was like, that's the crying eye option. Okay, it makes sense considering that the joking option also doesn't mean anything. So whatever.
That dialogue wheel used to mean something.
Yeah,
like it had actual meaning.
Anything.
It has no meaning. Doesn't matter what you choose. Your guy is never going to actually be angry or a piece of shit. Never actually going to be, because that laughy face used to be either sarcasm or like making light of the situation. So you're not taking it so seriously. That's gone.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. I was like, let's do the sarcasm option. I love seeing the sarcasm option. There was in the first 5 hours of the game, there's fucking nothing. At least for my straight male dwarf character, there's nothing.
Yeah. I will say there's another problem. You just reminded me of it. Bala. Oh, bro.
I hate Balara? The Arcanist?
Oh, God. Yeah, the Asian elf.
Yes. What's wrong with her?
Hate that character to the bottom of my core. I cannot stand her. If I could kill her, I would do it. Raise her and kill her again. We inform Bala that 2 of her gods escaped and are now looking to destroy the world. She continues to mouth off line after line of Avengers level comedy delivered at like 20% of the effectiveness. It's not funny. It's not like in the actual Avengers movies where, the comedy and the comedic timing actually works. Here, their ideas will get you to laugh by the sheer volume of jokes that we're going to be telling.
Jokes per second.
Every line out of her mouth. Yeah. It's literally a jokes per second thing. Every line out of her mouth is a joke. And it's like, listen here, bitch. This is serious. Your gods have escaped. They're about to destroy the world. Could you take it serious for a second? Like, could you actually pretend like this matters?
I think it might be because I wanted the jokester option so much that when I saw it in another character, I was like, all right, at least I got something out of that. I don't know.
I hated it, bro.
But so the other question that I wanted to make you is, so did you buy the game or did somebody buy it for you from your chat? Of course. Yeah, that's what I figured. Somebody from your chat.
I didn't buy the game. No. I did the mature thing. I subscribed for $15.
Oh, God. You're disgusting.
No,
you disgust me, Akalon. I can't believe you would do that.
I subscribed for $15.
No.
I downloaded the game. Before I even logged in, I unsubscribed immediately.
Disgusting.
And then I logged into the game and I played it.
You're disgusting.
Dude, I am winning. I didn't give them $60. I didn't even give them $50. I didn't give them $40. I didn't give them $30. I gave them $15. 1.5, and that's it.
I didn't give them anything.
Someone bought it?
No, I got a review code.
Oh, they gave it to you for free, yeah.
And it was funny because of disclosure, people thought that I was being sponsored by EA to Play. And I was like, no, it's just you have to disclose when you get a code. And I would disclose it even if I didn't have to, because I always do whenever I get a code. But it was funny to see that everybody was just assuming, oh, Rurikon's got bought off by EA. Oh, I can't believe it. It's like, no.
I didn't get a key. I have to either buy it or do it this way.
Yeah.
I thought that somebody in your chat.
I thought that somebody in your chat would have bought it for you.
No, somebody in my chat did offer, and I said no, thank you. I don't want you to give them $60. So I got to play the game for $15. I felt like it was not worth it, but at least it did get 60 out of me. So I'm pretty happy at the end of the day.
I will want to report back on it later once I get more time on it. I'll want to talk more about it in the podcast. But for now, I'm just like, hey, I get to be a dwarf. There's not a lot of games let me be a dwarf. That part is fun of it. But yeah, everything else that we talked about, I don't like the writing. I don't like my fucking smooth Brazilian wax dwarf with an elven haircut. I don't like the dialogue choices. I don't like the story hasn't really caught up to me either. It's like there's a million different things that I don't like about it. But I get to be a dwarf and drop kick people in the face. That part's fun.
Yeah. I will say, if you're one of the people that actually do like this game, good for you. I'm happy that you have a game that you can play. I do not share that view. But with that said, it is time for us to move on and talk about, well, probably Rurikon's favorite media outlet. I know that he's very close with people at Kotaku.
Oh, yeah.
And he really cares about Kotaku.
Yes.
Kotaku is down from 7 journalists to just 4. With, most notably, Alyssa Mercante. I don't even know how you pronounce her surname. She has announced that she is leaving Kotaku.
You know what Mercante means, by the way?
No idea.
Merchant.
Well, she is a shit merchant, so why not?
But it's like I'm not a big fan of. I don't think that she's a particularly good reporter. All she does is just generate controversy clicks. That's pretty much it. Which basically she thrives in dividing the gaming community, and that's one of the things that I'm against. I don't want to divide the gaming community. Quite the opposite. I want as many people as possible to unite under the banner of gaming and enjoy video games. That's the way that I look at it. Yeah. And so she does the exact opposite of what I like to do. So I'm not going to shed a tear over the fact that she's not working at Kotaku anymore. So whatever.
I will say,
and here's the thing.
Been rumors.
Here's the thing. Even beyond the fact that her big thing is just controversy clicks and all of that, I don't think that even if you take that away, I just don't think that she's a good reporter based on her Elden Ring Shadow of the Earth Tree review when she was referring to one of the crucial things of that DLC being the big fucking tree. That's like one of the most important things about that DLC. I didn't really think it was appropriate, the fact that she couldn't even identify the fucking tree properly, and she was referring to a completely different tree that is not even in the DLC. But, I just don't think she's very good at doing her job. Let's put it like that. At analyzing video games, which is just you don't have to be good at video games. You have to be good at least analyzing video games, and she's not even good at that. So.
Yeah. I mean,
you remember
from my perspective,
remember when we talked about meritocracy? There you go.
Well, I will say, I don't even care about Alyssa, because I think Alyssa is a deeply disturbed individual. That the sooner she gets out of the gaming industry, the better.
Yep.
I care more about Kotaku, and I don't mean care as in I'm really devastated at the fact that they're basically probably not going to be around for a long time. It shouldn't come as a shock or a surprise to anyone that legacy media has been struggling, specifically the gaming industries. They've been struggling for a long time, and the better YouTubers get, the more they start to struggle. Nowadays, let's be honest, guys, how many of you actually went to the mainstream media to find out, what was the newest beta for Monster Hunter Wilds like, over going to Rurikon to hear what he has to say? Because I don't get any of my news from them. I get my news from other YouTubers.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of times they are still able to break news, and that is my concern. I feel like a lot of times we still end up going up to traditional media to see whether that is interviews, whether that is, like even sometimes Monster Hunter news, I still get some information out of like IGN because they get more access to interviewing developers and stuff like that. And so they end up getting a little bit more nuance. Some of the information that came from Monster Hunter Wilds before the latest beta actually came from an Italian outlet that also did like some interview, and they got more information. It's like, I don't think... I feel like sometimes when I'm talking to you, you're like, oh, I'm at war with legacy media and fuck them. I want them all gone. And I'm kind of like,
I am,
see, that's the thing. I'm not of that same opinion. I'm like, I want them to continue existing because they provide sometimes valuable articles that I get to go and I get to read, and I'll be like, okay, now I'm going to give my own take on this news that they just broke. And that is usually interesting content to make. So I think that there's a synergy to be had between new media and old media. The problem in my eyes is that for some strange reason, they are constantly going to war with YouTube, because you constantly see articles of them, like, they'll pick the worst possible fucking YouTuber that does something bad, and they will just like overgeneralize and be like, YouTubers are fucking scum. That's kind of like how it goes. Like even recently we had some article about this. I forget what game it was about. I think it might have been Dragon Age Veilguard. But it was somebody just saying that like, oh, these fucking YouTubers, look at all these hate campaigns and all this bullshit. And I was like, what the fuck, bro? It's like, I'm not sitting over here hating on mainstream media unless you guys write something dumb, and then I'll criticize that specific article that you guys fucking wrote that was stupid. That's it. You guys are coming out here, you'll find like one or two YouTubers, and then just like, the entirety of the YouTube sphere fucking sucks. And it's like, no, what do you mean?
But you see,
and I don't want them gone. I want everybody to say what they have to say. That's fine. You want to criticize me? That's cool, man.
You see, the reason they have to die, and they're exposed by Star Wars Outlaws, and they're exposed by Dragon Age the Veilguard. They gave these games 7 out of 10s, 8 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s. I don't care how much you like Dragon Age the Veilguard. No human being in the right mind is going to give that game a 10 out of 10.
And this is
0% chance of
And this is why I don't give a fuck about game scores. I don't care.
Yeah, but you see, this is the problem. if they're willing to lie about that, how much else are they lying about? How much else is coming out of their news organization? Because
what do you mean they're lying about that? They can genuinely believe it.
No, I don't think they do.
Okay.
Because IGN will time and time again give a 7 or an 8 out of 10 to games that don't even sell. So unless IGN employs a bunch of, I can't say the R word, morons, right, to review these games, and these morons have never played a game in their lives, and they just go, well, this is a brilliant game. I actually stuck around for 20 hours at the office playing this game. That must be an 8 out of 10. Unless that is what they're doing, which doesn't make it better. It makes it just as bad because it means there's no quality control whatsoever.
I'm just saying that might be the case. What I'm saying is, like, I'm not going to assume that everybody is lying. I'm just going to assume that some people genuinely believe that Dragon Age Veilguard is a 10 out of 10. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine if that's what they want to say.
No person in the right mind can do that.
I mean, look, I don't care. If they like it and they want to give it a 10 out of 10, that is fine. But here's the thing. They're not immune to criticism.
You should be locked up in an insane asylum if you gave Dragon Age the Veilguard 10 out of 10, bro.
I got a lot of shit for saying that I really like Dragon's Dogma 2. And a lot of people think that I'm just saying that
it's a cool game.
Yeah, but a lot of people, see, that's the thing. A lot of people have this belief that I'm only saying that I like Dragon's Dogma 2 because I like Capcom. I usually like Capcom games. So a lot of people are just like, oh, you're only saying that you liked it because you like Capcom games. It's like, no, I like Dragon's Dogma 2. I can acknowledge it's not a perfect game. I can acknowledge that it needed more monsters and a little bit more content and all of this. Yes, I still fucking loved Dragon's Dogma 2. That's not going to change. So that's why I'm telling you, I believe that there are people out there that genuinely will believe that Veilguard is a 10 out of 10. And I'm not saying Dragon's Dogma 2 is a 10 out of 10. I don't rate games. I don't care. I just either like them or I don't. But if they believe it's a 10 out of 10, that's fine, but they're not immune from criticism. The same way that people come after me and they will criticize me for liking Dragon's Dogma 2, that's fine. You can criticize me. You can say you're wrong, whatever. That's fine, but I'm still going to say what I have to say, and I want them to be able to say what they have to say. So if somebody wants to say
I don't mind.
This is a 10 out of 10, that's fine, but you're not immune from me criticizing it. Like, that's a 10 out of 10.
Dude, they want to start their own YouTube channels. They want to start their own Substacks, and they want to write their drivel and make their stupid videos. Go for it. But legacy media, the mainstream media, needs to die.
No.
Now,
I don't agree.
Is there a world in which I can allow people like Jason Schreier to exist? Because he does.
You can allow him to exist.
Yeah.
Is you live because I allow it, sir.
Yeah. No, but you get what I mean, right? Is there a world in which I can accept someone like Jason Schreier still writing articles? Yes, because at least he does exposés, right? So he does investigative journalism, and he reveals a bunch of really bad crap that sometimes goes on within the gaming industry. But then he also has a bunch of really shit takes outside of that.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, well, actually, you just do your exposés and shut the fuck up about the rest of the gaming industry for the rest of the time.
I think he's entitled
just talk about your exposé stuff.
Let him say.
I'll tell you why this is such a problem.
Let them say whatever they want to say.
No. Let me explain to you why this is such a problem for me. The executive suits that work at the AAA industries, right, at the games, do you think they watch YouTubers?
No.
Do you think they follow Twitter? No. They read the mainstream media. So they read what IGN and Kotaku and these guys say.
So now let me counterpoint. Do you think that Sven Vinke watches mostly mainstream media?
I think he reads the articles there.
Yes, but is that his only source of information?
No, but you're talking about one guy. We're not talking about.
Do you think Miyazaki cares more about mainstream media?
Yeah, but hold up again.
I can keep going.
No, but you're just highlighting. First and foremost, you're highlighting Eastern developers, which we already have established.
Sven Vinke is not an Eastern developer.
No. The other developers you're going to name is pretty much going to come from the East. Yeah, so let's not pretend like you have a bag of Western developers here just waiting to fucking go.
You had
Spain, and then Asia, right? So
No,
let's not go.
what about the guy who made Warhammer though? That guy's pretty chill too.
Guy from Saber Interactive.
He's pretty based.
Yeah, but again, you're not talking about AAA then, right? Saber is linked to Sony and to is it even Sony? They're linked to some of the big ones, like, but they're not. They're smaller studios.
I can
right?
probably get some Western studios, like the people behind Wayfinder, the people behind Remnant 2. I can get a couple more in there.
Yeah, but these are all what we could maybe
AA.
at the max AA, right?
Yeah.
We can't AAA them. The AAA studios, and I think people misunderstand why this is such a big deal for me. Because someone will be like, dude, if you don't like it, don't play it. Why does this matter to you? Because a lot of these AAA developers sit on really good IPs. They sit on IPs that could become really good games. I want to play the next Mass Effect. I want to play the next Assassin's Creed. I want to play the next Star Wars game. I want to play these games. The problem is they keep ruining them. And the reason they keep ruining them is you have all of the mainstream media giving Dragon Age the Veilguard 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and 10 out of 10. All of them. The lowest one was some weird publication in Europe that gave him a 3 out of 5, which is still a 7 out of 10.
I think didn't Eurogamer give him a 6 out of 10? I think there was something like that. Somebody gave
I don't think so.
Score.
You can go check. But as far as I know, the lowest they got was 7 out of 10. So my problem with this is these developers, these studio executives, the ones that are actually meant to make the decisions, they are completely in the dark as to why their games keep failing. Because they see the ratings from these arbiters of truth. Because remember, the whole point of the media is they're supposed to bring you the truth. They're supposed to be agents of truth so that people can know what the hell is actually going on. So when Jason Schreier writes an expose, it reveals to the public the stuff that is going on behind the scenes that the public would otherwise not know about. But it does go in reverse because it also reveals when they give their ratings and their reviews, we already know that a lot of the executives, their bonuses are tied to good review scores. So now we have these guys giving out 9s out of 10s and 10 out of 10s for a game that is so obviously flawed. And we know it's obviously flawed because before the game came out, IGN and PC Gamer was telling everyone how good this game is. This is BioWare's return to form, and this is like the greatest RPG that's ever come out, and the writing is so good and so forward-thinking, and it's a 9 out of 10, and it's a 10 out of 10. And then the game came out, and less than a week after the game launched, the first PC Gamer article comes out, and it says, Dragon Age the Veilguard is a good game, but... And now they start listing all of the issues.
But in there, huh? Interesting.
Now they start listing all of... And this is not the first time they've done this, by the way. Go look over the last 2 or 3 years, all of these games that they go on their knees for and smile like donuts until the game comes out. And then suddenly they go, well, now that everyone can play the game, we should probably start being a little bit more honest and actually say what we think. So it keeps creating this really bad feedback loop where our developers, the executives that are supposed to make these big decisions, they don't actually know that their games suck because the media keeps pretending that the games don't. Obviously, because there are a lot of incentives there. If you want to keep getting invited to all of the special weekends, you don't give a 2 out of 10 review. If you want to keep getting invited and keep getting all of the keys, you don't give a 2 out of 10 review. If you want to keep getting advertisements on your website, you don't give a 2 out of 10 review. So it's sort of like you've set up the tools of your own demise. And with it, you're taking the gaming industry.
The thing,
at least the Western AAA gaming industry.
The thing is, I don't always agree with that take because sometimes people take that a little bit too far. But there have been instances in the past that I know that that stuff has happened specifically in mainstream media. But like when it comes to the YouTube side of things, I haven't seen it as much. And you know, if anybody tries to do it to me, I'm just like, no, you blacklist me.
Yeah, but there is
fucking blacklist.
Remember, there is. So here's the thing, right? It's not just if it was just blacklisting, they probably wouldn't care. But there's guaranteed the financial departments at Kotaku will not allow a Kotaku journalist to write Star Wars Outlaws is the shittiest game I've ever seen, 0 out of 10. They would never fucking allow that because Ubisoft will then just say, you're not getting any advertisement money from us.
I don't think
yourself.
that Ubisoft can afford to advertise anyway. So.
Yeah, so maybe they'll finally be honest about it.
But yeah, what I wanted to say with that stuff is that yes, we have seen stuff like this sometimes happen in the industry. Even there was a situation with the second game from Shadow of Mordor. I think it was called Shadow of War, whatever the fuck it was. It had some very specific guidelines for YouTubers that were instantly leaked, and people were like, wait, what the fuck is this? And it was like very much some really shady shit. So this is stuff that I have seen happen in the industry, but I also think that often people see things where there isn't stuff like people, because that's the problem with this happening once or twice, is that then people think that this is what's happening all of the time. Like any time that I'll put out a positive impressions on a video game that some person happened to not like, they'll be like, how much did you get paid for this? How much did they pay you to say this? And it's like, it's illegal to get paid and not disclose it. And I could just lose my channel. If you think I'm going to risk that, number one, if I was going to do some shady shit, it'd be with Raid Shadow Legends for all the fucking money they've offered me, which I've never taken, and it's usually so fucking much. I could have been making bank.
Dude, if I was throw money
like,
around.
Let me tell you, if I was going to scam you guys, it would be with Raid Shadow Legends money. They're the ones who got the fucking big bucks. But the point is, people nowadays, they just instantly assume the worst. And I understand why, but that's why I'm very careful whenever we're talking about this topic, that we need to make sure that we don't over-exaggerate things that actually happen. So like I said, I have seen it happen in the industry in the past. Like Jeff Gerstmann talked about this when he used to work at GameStop or whatever. He reviewed some game. I forget what game it was, but I remember because I would listen to the Giant Bombcast. I haven't listened since Jeff Gerstmann left, but whatever. I would listen to the Bombcast all the time. And I remember him telling the story that he did like a review for some video game. I forget if it was it Kane and Lynch? I don't know, but it was a video game that he reviewed, and he was like, yep, this is fucking 6 out of 10, whatever. And apparently that publisher had paid like a buttload for ads. And so like his senior editor or whatever came down and was like, I need you to, you're going to have to look at this review again. And he's like, what? No, fuck that. That's my score. And he's like, no, you need to look at that again. And I think I don't remember if he got fired, if he got reprimanded, but like there was some consequence and they got somebody else to do the review.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Yeah. This is literally what I'm telling you.
So this happens, but it doesn't happen as often as people think, in my opinion.
No, but this is where I actually disagree with you. I think in the mainstream media, because remember, from the mainstream media, there is an iron curtain, right? There's like, we don't know exactly what's going on in the background. Most of these journalists are completely unknowns. Like, look, very few people even look at we YouTubers tend to look at who writes the articles, because you sort of start to get a bullshit meter feel for when someone is writing an article and you know that this guy is just full of bullshit normally. But most people don't even look at who is actually writing the article. So, people don't go, well, I trust IGN's reviews when X reviews games, but not when Y.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares, right? So I actually think this happens far more often and again, it's not open bribery, because that would be illegal unless disclosed.
It's ads.
It is the sort of ad
incentives and stuff like that. Yeah.
And look, it would be, for YouTubers, exactly the same thing. So here's the cool thing. On YouTube, once an advertiser pays YouTube to run ads, YouTube runs those ads on all channels that are monetized. Yeah. An advertiser cannot step in and say, well, I will only advertise on Rurikon's channel. I refuse to advertise on Akalon's.
Actually, they can't. They can say, they can specifically target, I don't want my ads showing in this channel. Google actually allows you to do that.
I don't know if they go that specific.
They do.
On it.
They absolutely
but it
do.
Would,
yes.
It would be a nightmare, because you have thousands of YouTubers.
Yeah, but like
millions
if there's one
right?
YouTuber that they don't want to be associated with, I'm not saying
Maybe.
that they do this. I'm saying that Google has this ad network that actually has the capabilities of doing that, so they can essentially blacklist
I'm sure
ads.
they have the capabilities.
They can
for it.
blacklist ads on. But I think usually they go for topics. So like maybe you don't want your gambling ads on some places, or you don't want alcohol ads in some places. They do target things, but it's usually more around topics. So, we don't want this thing.
I'm aware of
on gaming.
I'm aware of the ability to target. So I know for a fact you can target the size of YouTubers that you want to advertise on. So the bigger the YouTuber, the more you pay. Yeah. I know that you can do. I know you can do topics. So if someone says, you can even do keywords.
Yeah.
So if someone says specific words in their video, your ad will not show up on that video. So I know that. I'm not entirely sure about the specific creators.
Yeah, you can target specific creators 100%.
I think even there, right, because you just have such a sheer number of ads and companies advertising on YouTube anyways.
But
if a YouTuber were to find out EA refuses to advertise in your video, it's like,
I don't care. Yeah, but
who gives a fuck?
Your
There's
point,
plenty of other people
is still
advertising.
valid. Like regardless of the fact that they can target it, your point is still valid. Like YouTubers are going to be less affected by ad boycotts, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the media, the mainstream media,
they're still very vulnerable to that.
It's all targeted ads, right? They get the ad companies in and specifically to advertise on their site.
It's always been a bit of an incestuous relationship with that kind of stuff.
It needs to change. Like if we're not gonna just burn down the mainstream media, if you're gonna remove that little pleasure from it, then it needs to completely change.
I mean,
we need to have an iron curtain come up.
I just think that you can have both things exist, and both can benefit from one another. That's the way that I
Here's what I would. I would want it to be, and I realize we're gonna need some legislation here. And this isn't a topic we were gonna discuss, and you guys might find this boring, but to people that's in the industry, this is kind of stuff that we like talking about. I would like to see an iron curtain system. Through legislation, you have a company that accepts ads from gaming companies, and this company distributes those ads indiscriminately to all mainstream media companies. So the companies don't get to go, no, we refuse to advertise on Eurogamer or whatever. It is like, dude, listen here. Make good games, they'll give you good reviews. If you don't make good games, we're not giving you because you can't pick and choose how you want to do shit.
There's other corruption points that could erupt from that, depending on whether or not
obviously
that would be a government agency, and even if it was a government agency, there's still corruption points, so on and so forth. But yes, I agree. There needs to be a little bit, a little bit of a shakeup in terms of how this incestuous relationship,
the funding works
out
behind this.
Yeah.
Because it just gets. The media gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and it causes harm. You can see it causes harm. All of these mainstream medias were absolutely sucking the D off of EA and BioWare leading up to Dragon Age: The Veilguard, and the game failed completely.
I wouldn't say completely.
Now, before
it still has some player base for sure.
Dude, it's not breaking even. There's no shot. This game has been in development for 10 years.
I think
went through a complete reset.
I think breaking even is going to be rough for that game, yes.
Yeah, it's not going to break even. So it has failed miserably. It would have had to get so many more hundreds of thousands of players concurrently on Steam to just break even. So I think it's a nightmarish scenario for them, and it could have been avoided if the media was honest. If the media actually gave honest reviews.
like I'm telling you, the thing is, particularly because of what you also have stated, which is like there's a bit of a there's a significant amount of people in media that are all for the types of messaging that Veilguard is throwing out there, and they're biased, which. Again, I don't believe that there's such a thing as an unbiased reviewer. People always try to debate me on this.
You can't be unbiased.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Like Echelon's going to be biased towards orcs. I'm going to be biased towards dwarfs. It's that simple. I'm going to be biased towards Monster Hunter and Dark Souls. This is why I always tell people, like, listen, I am biased. I like these games, and those are my biases. You can take it or you can leave it. I think that's the important thing. People need to make their audience aware of what their biases are, which is the most important thing. But
I agree with
because people are biased, like I said, they are biased towards what Veilguard is and represents, and therefore they are not necessarily lying. That is their honest opinion. I think in a lot of cases, there might be some cases where they are lying. Of course, I'm not going to put my hands in the fire for anyone at this point in mainstream media. But the point is like, I still believe there are some of those reviews where those people are being honest.
Yeah, but you even have to ask yourself, how are they still working there? Because Suicide Squad, they praised the shit out of Suicide Squad.
Did they?
It failed miserably. Yeah, they were all going about how this game pushes the boundaries forward, and it's just a bunch of toxic white males that don't like this game. There's nothing wrong with the game. Now, I do think there were a couple of articles that I read where they at least pointed out there were some issues.
No, wait a minute. Suicide Squad, IGN gave it a 5.
Yeah, but that's just IGN.
IGN gave it a 5 out of 10. Eurogamer gave it a 3 out of 5. PC Gamer gave it a 67.
3 out of 5 is 7 out of 10.
Whatever. What do you want to do? 2 out of 5? The game runs. It's like, once you start getting into the 2s and 1s, the game doesn't run.
Just game runs. Like, you got 7 out of 10 isn't just game runs.
But listen, 3 out of 5, 67 out of 100, 2.5 out of 5. Like, the critics' average was 59. You can't tell me they glazed the Justice League.
Dude, okay, so 5 out of 10 is what?
5 out of 10?
Right? 5 out of 10 is average.
It's average.
That game is an average.
Okay, that's fine, but it's like...
That game is not even close to average. The point is, even there, you have to start looking and saying, okay, you guys gave this game an average.
But wait a second.
How could you...
You have to get to a point where it's like, if you go below a 5... I'm looking at a game, at least in my head, I'm looking at a game, okay, so this game crashes like every 30 minutes or something like that, if you're going below a 5. Because like, when you're going below a 5, in my opinion, you're looking at like technical problems in the game.
No, I would say when you go below a 5, you're looking at a game that, let's quickly do Steam charts. What did Suicide Squad?
I mean, but is it a popularity contest? Because I also don't know if that's the way that things should work. But see, this is why I don't do this fucking ratings of video games, because I think it's just so meaningless to boil down a game to a number. So it's like, you boil it down to a 5 out of 10 and you said it yourself, well, that's an average game. It's like, exactly. You can't boil a game down to a number.
So here's the thing, right? You give it a 5 out of 10. The game, as a live service game, Suicide Squad, by the way, is a fairly popular franchise. It has a lot of popularity behind it. It gets an all-time peak of 13,000 players. It barely holds on to it. And now, just a few months later, it's at an all-time peak. It's at a 24-hour peak of 169, right? Yeah. So the game has failed miserably. This is not an average game. This is a far below average game. If I'm the media, let me ask you this.
You can't predict that.
No, it doesn't matter. Because when I watched the YouTuber reviews of this game, and I'm not just talking about YouTubers who are always negative about everything. I'm talking about the average YouTuber review. They were criticizing everything about this game. The combat feels incredibly sluggish, boring, same thing over and over and over again. The dialogue is incredibly bad. The storyline is incredibly bad. The writing is incredibly bad. They were literally slagging this game off, all of the YouTubers, right? So you have this thing where the YouTubers are telling you this is a really shit game.
Jesus.
The media keeps telling you.
Just real quick, I looked up the Skill Up review just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
The title is, I absolutely do not recommend. It's like, Skill Up is usually very middle of the road. He's got like good analysis. And so when he says, I absolutely do not recommend, he slammed it. Because like with Suicide Squad, I've been out of the loop, because the moment I saw the gameplay, I was like, I don't want to play this. I don't want to play this.
But you see, this is my point is, if you're an executive, right? So let's say you're the CEO of Kotaku, and time again, your journalist that's supposed to run the reviews give games 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 5 out of 10 for games that all of the YouTubers say absolute dog shit. At some point, you go, I don't think you should work here. Because it seems like time and time again, you rate games really good, but they fail completely. And then the games that you rate just as good succeed. And it's like, well, I don't think you know what the fuck you're doing. It's as simple as that. The YouTubers call it every single time. They say this is a bad game, the game fails every single time. You don't seem to know what is a good game or what is a bad game. So clearly we have a problem. You need to leave. The fact that these people are still employed in any way, shape, or form is absolutely ridiculous. And it continues to happen all across the industry. So this industry truly is sick. At least the mainstream media needs to either have a phenomenal change in leadership as well as just in journalists that get to work there, or it needs to close down. And something new. And I don't think, because you already have it, right? You have people like Bounding Into Comics that's popped up in very recent years. You have That Park Place that's popped up. Niche Gamer has popped up. And these are actually mainstream media organizations. They still do print media, but they're trying to be a counter voice to the corrupt mainstream media that we have now. And I think that's what we need. We need places like Kotaku, IGN, and those guys to fail, because there's never going to not be print media. There's always going to be. Niche Gamer does investigative journalism. They break stories. But this current system seems corrupt. It seems broken because it doesn't seem to know how to predict when a game is going to be good or not.
It's like,
it seems to just hand it out like candy.
The issue that I have with this is that your position is almost like one of deplatforming, where you're just like, I don't want these people to have a platform. Fuck them, go away. And I am very much against that. I'm like, listen, you got something to say. I want to hear what you have to say. Or maybe I don't want to hear but I want, it's like, I don't care what you are saying, but I will fight for your right to say it. That's kind of like where I'm at.
There's a difference. There's a difference. My argument is not that someone steps in and burns down their buildings.
That's
exactly what you stop them from operating. I want them to burn down because they're burning themselves down. So all I want is for gamers to stop reading their nonsense because they'll close down by themselves.
No, but it's like,
and I think it is happening.
The thing that is that when you take an extreme position like that, I just feel that you're like, I'm right, they're wrong, and they should listen to me and not them. And I don't agree with that.
But if we agree, why are we arguing about this?
No, but I just said I don't agree. What do you mean? I just said I don't agree with that position.
But you just said, I'm right, they're wrong. No, I said, get rid of them. I agree.
I said what your position is. I didn't say I agree with it. No, I don't agree with that at all. I don't like putting anyone in a position where it's like, they're always right, they're always correct, and that it's like, no, we can be wrong. Like I can say something that's wrong. I don't know. And just like Kotaku can say shit that's wrong. I mean, they do it all the time.
But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. When a YouTuber gets it wrong, there's usually severe punishment as a result. Your audience drags you.
Yeah, 100%.
You either lose a bunch of subscribers and viewers for that matter, or they drag the shit out.
So what you're saying is that we're held to a higher standard than traditional media.
Well, I think we're held to a real standard. We're held to a standard because there's that iron curtain with those with those journalists. They don't deal with the real implications of when they get stuff wrong. So they don't give a shit about just putting out these propaganda pieces for gaming, for games companies that don't deserve to be propagandized. So I personally, I would never be okay with the government stepping in and closing the mainstream media down. There I agree with you. That is deplatforming. But if they die slowly and painfully as a result of their own inflicted wounds, I will not help.
That's up to them. I'm just saying, like I said, I think that there's a room for both sides to grow and flourish, but I'm also not a big fan of them just like constantly shitting all over YouTubers by generalizing one bad YouTuber or something like that. And they're just like, yep, fuck them all. And it's like, no, that's not right. What the fuck? I'm not sitting over here generalizing, saying that I want everybody in the mainstream media to burn, but I will criticize individual writers whenever I'm like, okay, look, this is fucked up. Like for instance, I criticized Mercante whenever she did her Shadow of the Earth review, and it's like, I can't even get the fucking tree right. Like, you know, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck do you know about this game? It's weird. And also, the whole thing about her being like, oh, my life is bad and because of this. It's like, bro, nobody cares about this in your review of this game. Nobody cares.
No.
And I recently saw a bunch of articles coming out like that too, for obvious reasons. And it's like, bro, don't bring that shit to games. It's like, it's just no.
Man, these people suffer from main character syndrome so badly.
Anyway.
But let's talk about something a lot more fun.
Yes.
Monster Hunter Wild.
I am so curious. You finally played it. I wanted to tell you more stuff, but I had my kids around and I couldn't focus on helping you in the stream. I was trying, but
No, it's fine.
So
it was my first time playing Monster Hunter ever. I've never played a single Monster Hunter game. I've also never actually seen a single Monster Hunter game. Because either Rurikon will be streaming when I'm streaming or he streams over on YouTube and their notification system sucks.
It does.
But I loved it.
Told you.
I loved it.
I fucking told you, man. I told you.
I'm pre-ordering it. I'm absolutely playing it when it comes out.
That game
is so much fun.
It is.
Now, I'm going to break your heart. I loathe gun lawns.
I don't care.
It's so slow. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, it's fine.
No, I know, but I know it's your favorite weapon.
It is.
I like the bow gun. Like the light bow gun. I like that bow gun. It's really fun. But no, I thought it was a brilliant game. I saw a lot of people complain on your Twitter about performance.
Yeah.
I had zero performance issues whatsoever.
What is your GPU?
I have the 3080.
Okay.
So it's a pretty big.
Were you playing at 1440p?
Max graphics, 1440p, everything.
Okay.
And it was perfect. I got 100. While I was streaming, I limited it to 60 FPS because streaming, can get weird. But then I played on my own as well a few hours, and I unlocked it, and I got 160 frames per second, like what my monitor says it does. But it could have been wrong because it's the NVIDIA overlay thing.
Oh, okay.
So according to it gave me all the frames that it could give me, basically on my monitor.
Let me tell you, you're not the typical case.
Well, I had no issues.
Yeah.
Like zero. Or I think I got 120. Sorry, no, I got 120 frames.
Okay.
Yeah.
That seems more reasonable.
I moved it up to 120. Yeah, I moved it up to 120. Just because even though my monitor is 165 hertz display, a lot of games when I go past 144 will still have some weird tearing that goes on that really pisses me off. So 120 is usually where I like playing games. But I had no problems whatsoever. Very smooth gameplay. I love the open world of that game. It's obviously not an RPG open world. But you can see that open world is built for farming.
Yeah.
They want you to get out there, farm your resources, farm your shit, get back,
because the whole
and go kill some
stuff. The whole loop is going to be in the final game, because in this one they give you a couple of armor sets, a couple of weapons, and then you mix and match whatever armor set you want, and then you go out and you hunt. But the purpose of the final game is you go out there and, like, say, for instance, I don't know if you noticed I noticed that the first time you put on an armor, you put on that green armor.
Yeah.
That green armor.
I don't know what it does.
It doesn't matter what it does, but if you look at that green armor and you go and you fight like the first green boss, the Chattacabra, that armor comes from him. So in the game, you'll be expected to hunt him and then carve him up for pieces, and then you take his pieces to the blacksmith, and then he makes you an armor, and that armor is going to look like that, and it looks like that because it comes from that monster. If you notice the other armor sets that were there, like there was one that was a very full of furs and stuff like that, and a little bit. That one comes from the big bear that you fight. So each of the armors represents the monster that you hunted to get the materials to craft that armor. And the weapons is the same thing. So for instance, let's say you fight a fire-based monster, you're going to get a weapon that deals fire damage. And that is going to be stronger against monsters that are weak to fire and so on and so forth. So you have like this whole system of crafting that is going to be your core loop. You hunt those monsters for materials to craft the different pieces that you want. That's kind of like the way it works.
I thought it was a really satisfying loop.
Yeah,
so it doesn't quite have the intensity of Elden Ring, but that's actually a good thing.
I mean, but that's because I'm assuming you were playing in co-op because you were trying to set up co-op when I stopped watching.
Yeah.
So you had like a 4-player party, or was it like a 2-player party, 3 players?
I think it was 3. Me and 2 other people.
Okay. 3 players.
Yeah. But all I mean with the intensity, the bosses don't do exactly the same kind of stuff. Although that Raiden guy...
Raidao.
Is it Raiden?
Raidao.
Raidao. Raidao. He does do some crazy damage.
Yeah, that's intended because
he killed me a couple of times.
He's the apex predator of the area, so he's going to be a little bit harder.
But I loved everything about that game. I loved how it played. I love the concept. But I did tell my audience the way I will play that game, and I'm so glad that I discovered this game, because my favorite games are RPGs. Everyone else that you know, right? I like my RPGs. Second favorite, RTS.
Yeah.
I like me some real-time strategy, love me some city builders and all the rest of it. But every once in a while, I want to just sort of jam out in a game and just do some mindless stuff, right? So I usually go play League of Legends ARAM for that. But sometimes I'm bored with ARAM, but I play ARAM because I have nothing else. Because an RPG, you can't just play for 2 hours. You need way more hours than that to get into an RPG. RTA, same thing. But by the time you finish planning it, your time's up, you have to leave. You haven't even built anything yet. So this game feels like it's going to slot perfectly into those moments where I have a couple of hours to kill. Let me go kill some monsters. And let me just grind some monsters. Let me just get this down. Because it's such a fun gameplay loop. The combat is so fun. It's so fun to try and figure out all of the different combos that you can do. And then seeing the big damage as you're doing those combos correctly. Just such a fun, satisfying loop that you keep doing. So will I play it the same way that you do? Your main game format to death? I probably won't do that because I care about story more than actual.
I mean, they're doing a heavier focus on story this time around. What did you think about that introductory mission where you're helping out the little kid?
Oh, I loved it.
Really?
I loved it.
Okay.
It was good.
Because, like, you see, most
really
Monster Hunter players will probably end up skipping that stuff. They're like, I don't care. I just want to kill some monsters.
No. What I liked about it is it immediately set me up to this, okay, there's something big going on here.
Yeah.
I need to figure out what this is. So I hope that there's maybe some kind of investigative kind of thing behind that.
Oh, yeah, there always is.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It is one of those games where I will definitely play it. I will definitely stream it. And I will probably play it for the next 1.5, 2 years until the next one comes out, and then I'll buy that one. Because
here's how it's going to work.
It is one of those games that just
Here's how it's
going
to work, by the way. Once this game comes out, you're going to have access to 2 difficulties, which is low rank, and you have to do them in order. So you start in low rank, and then you go to high rank. So there's kind of like a bump in difficulty when you hit high rank. It's a steady curve from low rank where it's like, okay, this monster is easy, this one's a little bit harder, this one's a little bit harder, and it starts going up. And then you get to high rank, and there's like a speed bump where they're just like, okay, now it's going to be a little bit harder. And then the first version of the game has low rank and high rank. That's always how it goes, because this is the base game of Wilds. And that traditionally what has happened with every single of the Monster Hunter game since is they have the G rank expansion, but in the West it's called Master Rank. It's just called G rank in Japan. But that's like the next step up, which is like a big bump up in difficulty, and they also increase your power level a lot to make up for that. But that's usually how it goes, and that's why, for instance, if you've heard of World and Iceborne. So it's like Monster Hunter World is low rank and high rank, and then Iceborne is Master Rank.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then there's like
I will almost definitely. There'll be days where I'll probably farm the shit out of that.
Oh yeah,
because it is so easy to just pick a monster and go.
Yep,
and go kill the monster, and then
you get rewards every time.
If you're done, you're done.
Yeah, like you see that quest reward screen at the end where they show you like a bunch of squares and a bunch of items. Those are the crafting materials that you're getting from the monster, and you're going to need specific ones. So let's say, for instance, so for this armor, you need Doshiguma claws. Now, in order to get Doshiguma claws, because this is how nitty gritty it gets. In order to get Doshiguma claws, you can just kill him, and there's a chance you'll get him, or you can break his legs. And then there's an increased chance of you getting them as a break part reward. So breaking specific parts of the monster is going to increase your chances. Like, for instance, there's a material which will be the tail. And you can't get that in Doshiguma because I don't know if you can carve Doshiguma's tail. But Ray Dao, you see how he's got like a long, big tail?
Yeah.
You can chop that off. You can chop off his you chop off his tail, and then after you chop off his tail, when he moves to a different area or whatever, you go up to the tail and you carve that. And there's a chance of you getting the tail material from there, like a really big chance.
Oh, right.
So, like, there's specific pieces of the like, if you need the wings, you got to break the wings. If you need, like, his gem, you got to break the head. And then there's also, you can capture monsters, which will also give you a different set of rewards for capturing. So, there's, like, different things that you can do to influence the RNG, and that's what's so good about it. Because you know how in Diablo, you go run a dungeon, any dungeon, doesn't matter what dungeon you run, and there's a chance of you getting like a cool item. In Monster Hunter, the whole point is you want the fire sword, you kill the fire monster. In order to get the fire sword, you need to get the claws of the monster, you got to break his legs. You need to get the tail, chop off his tail. You need to get the wings, break the wings. And then you can influence the RNG of the materials that you're getting in a really significant way, which is really cool because you get control.
Okay. Yeah, I could already see there's like a bunch of different ammos for the bowgun.
Bowgun is actually
armor piercing.
Yeah, bowgun is one of the weapons that I'm not very good at because I don't like playing the ranged weapons because you have to manage the ammo. Because in the demo, they give you a bunch of ammunitions. In the game, you're going to be expected to craft that. So you have to go out and find like plants and shit that you'll need to find. What is it called? Gunpowder. You'll need to find gunpowder and find all of these things out in the world, and then you collect that, and then you craft the ammunition for your gun.
Yeah. No, I like it because you have like lightning
ammo,
or static or lightning ammo, where you can see there might be some interplay there with stuns and stuff that will eventually start happening on some things. Or
it's different. So like the way that it works is each animal will usually have a elemental weakness. So in your case with lightning, I think Chatacabra was the one that was weak to lightning. So if you had taken lightning ammo to that toad looking thing, he would take more damage. If you were taking lightning ammo to Ray Dao, he'll take significantly less damage because he's a lightning monster.
I know someone in my chat, the only reason I know this is someone in my chat said bowman or bowgun players can sometimes be sort of support because there is a stun ability with lightning
paralysis ammo. You can get paralysis ammo,
something
and it
to
builds
that.
up to a status. You can also get poison ammo. But the thing is, this also depends on the bowgun that you craft. So not every bowgun can use every ammo. So certain bowguns will carry para ammo and all that stuff. Other bowguns will not. So you have to choose your bowgun based on
But it's also so nice that you can have different weapons and you can switch weapons the way they switch weapons.
Which melee weapons did you try? Or which melee weapons did you try?
Gunlance. Just gunlance. I ended up just shooting the shit out of the bow. I tried the heavy bowgun. I hated that.
Heavy bowgun.
I don't like the heavy bowgun.
Yeah, it's hard to play.
Yeah. But no, I thought it was a really fun game, and I'm definitely going to be playing the shit out of it.
That's good.
Definitely, it's really fun. So I'm very much looking forward to the launch of that. I'm very much looking forward to the launch of that game.
I got him. Got him.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm now a fan of Monster Hunter,
That's
ladies and gentlemen.
good to hear.
Yeah, so I guess I have to start a Monster Hunter channel and start talking about weapons and shit. So this is the bow gun. It's a bow and a gun. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, there you go. got all your guides done right there.
Yeah. No, I want my content on Monster Hunter because I'm done with guides. I don't like guides, but I will be playing the shit out of that game when it goes live.
Yeah.
Because it is just super fun. Then we have to talk about something that is a little less fun. And we don't have a lot of time, so we'll just sort of brush through this topic as quickly as possible. Sony is implementing or has filed a patent for the implementation of a universal rewind button on PlayStation controllers.
So,
and yeah.
I haven't seen this yet. Yeah, this is the first time that I've heard of it. But the way in which we're describing it to me, you were saying that they want this to be like back implemented or something like that. And to me, I think that there's a massive problem because a lot of people are like, oh, why do you like this? It's just a convenience thing. Like, why got to be so weird about it? And it's like, the thing is, what if that's not the intent of the developer? Like, imagine that me as a developer, and I would imagine, for instance, like From Software, Elden Ring, they're like, what the fuck? Rewind? Excuse me? You mean you died and then you rewinded? No, what the fuck? No. Like that straight up breaks any Souls game that you can just like hit a button and rewind, broken. Straight up broken. So, you've broken developer intent. And to me, I'm like, no. Like if a developer wants to make a mechanic for that, I'm all for it. Like I think Celeste has that and a couple of other games have like rewind mechanics. And it's like, hey, that's cool. If that's what they want to do, that's fine. But what if a developer doesn't want you to have access to a rewind button? That's
fun. all of this is going to depend on how Sony implements it. The patent doesn't really go into a lot of detail, only that the remote will have a dedicated rewind button. Now, there is a world in which all this means
do we even know if that's a gameplay rewind button?
Yeah. They explain in the patent what this button will do. So if you, instead of having to save scum, like you would have to do these days, you can now just hit the rewind button and go back. So you can use it for a couple of things. There are some cool stuff with it, though, because you can actually just rewind and just watch what you just did. So you'll be able, sort of like a shadow play kind of thing.
That is cool.
So you just rewind and watch, right? But then there is also the rewind and then do like what they call in League of Legends a chrono break.
No.
So you literally break time, drop yourself into the new timeline, and just continue playing from the moment that you just rewinded to. That's sort of the... Now, here's where I don't mind it. If all this is a new technology that adds that functionality, and as you said, developers can choose to roll that into their games, make that part of their game's feature. Cool, no problem.
But if they implement it retroactively, no.
Yeah. If this becomes a feature on top of all other games, and before people go, but they wouldn't be able to do that. Technically, they would, because all the game needs to do is save, and you can it's a safe state. You'll be surprised now.
Because here's what people need to understand. If you've ever dove into emulation, you'll know that this is possible because like you just make a save state. It's as simple as like here's the state the game is in. You save it right here, and then you just like rewind, go forward, go backward, do whatever. You can just make a save state, and yes, you can do it. But yeah, it is possible.
And it doesn't. For anyone that thinks it takes so much, it doesn't actually take that much resources. So I have on my OBS a thing called replay buffer. Replay buffer allows, it basically saves the last 5 minutes of my recordings at all times in the RAM. If I hit the button to save it, it takes that 5 minutes and it saves it. It washes the 5 minutes and it starts over, right? So I can literally back save the last 5 minutes. And it doesn't take that much space. I have 64 gigs of RAM. I never notice it. Never, right? So it's very easy because it would be the same kind of thing. It would literally take the game and save the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes of the game in the RAM. And then if you just want to rewind, you can literally just rewind, go back and forth, choose, okay, I want to go here. Mm-hmm. It throws away everything that happened after that point, and you start there and you go. That will almost certainly be game-breaking for games like Elden Ring.
Yeah, 100%. It's like I do want to classify what you just said. It's not as simple as it is in OBS to do that in video games, but it is absolutely doable based on what I've seen in emulation. The concept is the same. Yeah, the concept is the same. And like I said, in emulation, this is something very common that is super easy to do with save states and whatnot. So I can imagine that them just like applying that across the board is not going to be too hard because most video games, at least that are on Sony, have to adhere to the way that Sony handles files. So the way that the console's operating system handles files, and if they think that they can take the technology that they have for save files, and just like, use that to rewind and all of that, they probably can do it.
Yeah. But I imagine companies like From Software will immediately go, no.
Yeah.
If you do this, we don't release on PlayStation. Simple as that.
I don't know if they would go as far as that, as saying that they won't release it, but they would probably fight it. And I think this needs to be something that before you apply it retroactively, you need to ask the developers if this is something that they will allow. Because you are fundamentally fucking with their art. That's pretty much the way that it goes. Yeah.
I personally, if you guys want, because it would be my personal opinion, is that the way Sony is going to do this is it's going to be a feature that developers can develop.
They can use it, yeah.
Yeah, but it is now a built-in feature rather than having the game have to have a menu option that allows you to back and forward, and it's just built into the game, and now games can obviously use that feature if they want.
It's like your adaptive triggers and shit like that. It's like it's an exclusive PlayStation feature. They're doing something for that. Which again, I think that from that standpoint, cool technology, cool beans. But when you started telling me that this is something that they might do retroactive, I'm like, whoa.
Well, the retroactivity, I think, it just means there's gonna be controllers for the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Plus or whatever they call it now.
5 Pro.
And then companies that have already brought out their games, right? So there's already a bunch of games for those consoles. They can now retroactively add that rewind function into their game if that is something that they choose to do with a patch update or whatever. If that's what they choose to do. Because it sounds like Sony really wants to make it universal insofar as it should not be difficult for any game to implement. Whether your game was made on Unity, whether your game was made on Unreal, it should be super easy and simple to just import that and be done with it. That's at least what it sounds like to me. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. It is at this point just a patent. Now, a patent means that they already have a working prototype of, or at least in theory, the thing works. We'll have to see if it actually ever plays out. Because it could be a cool system. Then just very quickly, you can say if you want to say something about this. Hideo Kojima was spotted at CD Projekt Red. There is a picture of him at CD Projekt Red. I'll quickly show you guys here. That is Hideo Kojima with the CD Projekt Red team. And what appears to be the Death Stranding dude standing behind them.
Are they at CD Projekt Red or are they at Kojima Productions?
So Kojima wrote CD Projekt Red, and according to this, Hideo Kojima with CD Projekt Red. Yeah, so it's either at their place or at his place.
This looks like them at his place.
It's possible. The question more is, why?
Why indeed?
We know that CD Projekt Red is currently working on a new Witcher. We know that they're also working on a new Cyberpunk. Now, Cyberpunk, in my opinion, just smacks of Hideo Kojima. Like, Hideo Kojima in the Cyberpunk universe can do some crazy crap. Like, he can do some crazy shit in the Cyberpunk universe. So I would not be surprised if this is the beginnings of some kind of crossover discussion. Because there's another bit of news here that I just quickly wanted to see. Oh, Death Stranding IP now firmly belongs to Kojima Productions.
Was it Sony before?
It was Sony. Sony just signed it over to Kojima Productions.
Do you like that Stranding, by the way?
Oh, I loved it.
Okay.
Absolutely adored it.
Because that's another one of those games that I got called a shill because I liked the game.
People, while I was streaming it, people would be like, oh man, this is a walking simulator. And about 5 hours into the game, I was like, if you think this is a walking simulator, you're have not played it. You clearly don't understand what this game is about. It's constant like problem solving and then trying to set things up. It's about planning. So there's a lot of planning involved, problem solving, but then also problem solving so that the future can be a lot easier. So you're constantly sort of thinking about, okay, I'm going to have to come back here at some point. How can I make it easier for myself to get back here the next time I get here?
To give you an idea, at the end of the game, I pretty much just had zip lines everywhere.
Dude, I spent
I had a network of zip lines now. Like
I spent the last 5 hours of my playthrough going because I made a zipline network from the beach where you end the game, right? All the way to the start. Not the first island, but the start of the second island, all the way there. I spent so many hours trekking over mountaintops trying to get to the tippity top so I could put down this thing.
Me too.
And I just kept going and kept going and kept going until finally I was done. And the only reason I did this was so that I could start on the one end and go uninterrupted all the way to the beach just for the experience of it. And when I finished it, I was like, woohoo!
Look what I've created. No, but to me, it was more like, I don't know if people ever do space trucking in space games, but that's what I like to do. Like, you grab your spaceship and you go to a space station, you pick up a couple of goods, and then you ferry those to another station, you sell them off. And that is very satisfying. That's kind of how I looked at that game, right? You're picking up goods here, you're dropping them off here, and then there's a crazy Kojima story. In the middle
and it's all part of world building because every single time you take packages, you get sort of people talking to you and giving you new information, and it's
I like
really freaky, really cool game. So I loved it, and the IP now firmly belongs to Kojima. Him being at or with CD Projekt Red is definitely very, very interesting here. And then we have a final story. This one, don't have a picture for it. But Mass Effect TV series is apparently...
Is it a Netflix special?
I think it's Amazon. Here we go. Let me quickly show you guys what we're...
I mean, they did The Boys. I like The Boys.
So here it is. Mass Effect TV series in the works at Amazon from Fast and Furious 9 writer. Wow.
Which one's Fast 9? I forget which one that one is.
Oh, I don't know, but is Fast and the Furious known for its incredible writing?
Fast 9 is the one with John Cena. Was John Cena supposed to be Toretto's brother, I think, or something like that? I probably saw that one. I don't know if that's one of the good ones or not.
See, I don't watch Fast and the Furious. I watched the first 2 or 3, I think. The last one I watched was Tokyo Drift. So whatever that one was the last one I ever watched. Yeah,
I like that.
And then never again because I couldn't care less. But this is if they decide to make this within,
nail it, it'd be great.
Yeah, dude. If they do it in the original games, telling the story of Commander Shepard, holy shit!
I want them to tell everybody how I let the fucking council die. Fuck those people.
Dude, this could be super fire. Like, it could be so good, or it can fail completely.
Yeah,
it's all gonna depend on what Amazon wants, how Amazon wants it. Hopefully, it's not too woke or political. Even though Mass Effect is super political, please understand it's political in universe.
Listen. What you are saying is like you don't want to be bludgeoned over the head with political messaging. That's what you're saying. Politics in games are actually fine. It's just the overt political messaging of people. What's it called again? I forget. Whatever. But it's basically them preaching to you about things you should care about.
The thing is,
politics are fine.
Worlds must have politics, right? how wrong I am for this or how this or that, or must there be a fantasy world where one of the characters is non-binary and their entire storyline is them coming to terms with non-binary? Maybe not. Maybe that's not an interesting storyline.
Game yet? I can't criticize that yet. All right,
dude. Their entire storyline. Every character has their own storyline that you have to play through. Their entire storyline is just them coming to terms with this.
I will judge it
overbearing
for myself. When I get there for myself, I will judge it.
It's fine.
Not before.
But it is overbearing. We don't need crap like that in video games. It's fine. You want to have a character that goes through some kind of identity crisis? Great. But make that make sense within the character, and the character has to be more than just their identity crisis.
Their identity.
Yeah, because no one cares about that, and it just comes off as preachy and not fun. But anyways, Rurikon, I think that is it from us. There's a couple of topics we didn't discuss, mainly because they have to do with the election, and we really don't want to talk about the election that happened in America. To those of you that voted for, congratulations. To those of you that voted against, condolences. That's pretty much our messaging here.
The one thing that I would say is I've seen a lot of people saying that they're going to self-delete. Please don't do that.
Yeah, don't be stupid.
You know, call a hotline, speak to somebody. Like, I'm sure there's another way, hopefully. But
dude, I think
that would be the one thing that I would say. Please don't self-delete.
No, but I think a lot of the people that are claiming that are literally just doing it for attention.
I don't care why they're doing it. I'm just like, please don't do it. Talk to somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they will, but
worth living. Like, at the end of the day, if things are that bad that you need to try to get out of the country, try to do something, but life is still worth living. That would be the message that I would put out there.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me and Rurikon for another episode of Mythic Banter. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed entertaining you for the last 2.5 hours. Pretty soon we're going to be at 5 hours. Like, this is just the way it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, Rurikon, thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, be good to each other, be kind to each other, and we will see all of you in the next one. Peace.